What's going on, everyone? I would like to formally welcome you all back to a brand new episode of No Neutral. And I can guarantee you something, this week is going to be something special, and there's a variety of reasons. One, of course, is because last week was amazing. The CPT Central America West was phenomenal.
Oh my gosh.
Talk about Gama.
Brian F's mustache is becoming epic.
Coming up, we have the top 16 of North America West. And I'll tell you what, I got a little bit of this for y'all. I got a little bit of this because I know how we get down on here. And a lot of y'all about to be salty. And trust me, Big Hollywood is here for it. And first off, of course, it's not just me here. It's not just my guy, the great
Brian's just waiting patiently. Welcome everybody to the stream.
Of course, we have over in Japan, Team No Motion, and the Nye holding it down for us. Big shout out to those guys.
We're gonna, just in case you guys are wondering what's going on over here, we're doing an official Capcom Restream over here. And this is something that I've been wanting to do a lot more of, that I really haven't had a chance to, but I'm going to try my best this year to do this as much as I can, which is some official beginner restreams. And the idea of this stream basically is to restream major fighting game events, and then spend the entire time answering questions being asked in chat, and trying to explain things as much as I can to people about decisions being made. A lot of times when I try to do commentary, I'm always like, see, that was a really smart decision that this player made, because what they're doing is, oh my god, and then this crazy thing happened. And so, like, I can never actually get a chance to explain why the decision that was made was really cool. I'm going to try to do that more often. I'm not going to be commentating the matches. I'm actually just going to be describing little things, like, for example, watching this here. Okay, that EX juggles there. Gives him the mix-up in the corner, so he has the ability to go for frame traps, etc., etc. Of course, the Capcom Pro Tour always starts off with the Rob TV and Brian F streams here. And so these are always entertaining as well. So I'm not going to try to speak too much. I want to hear what they have to say about a lot of this stuff. So we're just going to listen in for a little bit.
America, who were your favorite player. This is one of those dudes who's been on the grind, on the down low for quite some time. I mentioned he had some big wins over.
But again, if
you ever heard of Tokido before?
If you guys have any questions, let me know in the chat. I can start now. If you just have any terminology questions that you have, for example, like how do you do this, or what is this, or what does this term mean, etc., etc. I'm down to start answering those even right now while we're watching the pre-show here.
In that grand finals, my man Kusanagi got
oh my
second
goodness,
place
bro.
Again.
Poor Kusanagi.
Every online CPT qualifier that has existed since 2020 has had Kusanagi in that second place position. Every time.
Bro, I couldn't even imagine, bro. You know how you kind of would rather lose in like 17th place than 9th place, or then 2nd place? Like, the closer you get and then lose, the worse it feels. So I could not imagine losing in that same spot 3 separate times. And we're not talking about 3 second place NLBCs in a row where it's week after week after week and you get to try again. This is over the course of, as Brian aptly put, a year and a half. I definitely feel for Kusanagi, but at the same time, I'm very impressed that he can play so high so consistently. That is godlike.
Watching that tournament, I feel nothing but fear. The play styles that are represented were just...
Honestly, getting second place constantly over and over and over and over again like that is not a fun feeling. I could only imagine. That's got to be very, very discouraging. But, you know, again, like Brian F was saying, it's really impressive to be able to get a second place consistently like that.
Specifically really represents that well, and you can see why that carried him to the grand finals. I mean, he got it to the top 8 at loser side, brought it all the way back to grand finals, but Gama was just...
In case you guys are just tuning in and wondering what I'm doing here, doing a restream of Capcom Pro Tour North America West, the top 16 here. I'm going to be trying to do a beginner stream where I'm trying to help people as much as possible learn fighting games. You know, no question is too simple here. There are no such thing as stupid questions in this stream over here. Ask away. you can ask, what is a throw? And I will tell you what a throw is and exactly why throws are important to Street Fighter V, for example. So just let me know. Just ask away whatever questions that you have, and I am more than willing to answer them. And like I said, I'm not going to be doing direct commentary. If you want to listen to actual commentary, you can tune into the actual stream at twitch.tv/Capcom Fighters. The goal here for me is not necessarily to focus on commentary. So, obviously when something hype happens, I'm going to get hype because it's hard not to. But at the same time, I'm going to try to focus on things like, oh, that was really interesting because what happened was that Super hits twice really fast, but, he was able to absorb the first hit with the armor and then was still able to get the parry out in time to hit. And there you see right there, Abigail able to do a lot of damage. I basically take the time to explain things that happen a little bit more. That's the goal here for this restream. Of course, we're just starting with the pre-show here, as you can see, with Rob TV and Brian F. And I like listening to their analysis, so we'll keep listening for now.
Had a fantastic run. El Tigre, my man, was also in there in top 8. Uriel Velorio doing work with his Cody as well. So, and, it was just a fantastic top 8 all around. So I just wanted to give shout outs to all those players for representing. I know we're going to see them in the next Central America West doing work. And we'll see. I don't know. It's Kusanagi. You got to take that one. He's going to get second. Is someone else going to step up?
God.
To see what happens there.
Definitely much love to all of those players. They did their thing.
Yeah, Cody has gotten really good in this game now. He's a character that I think I like that they've kept buffing him. He used to be a character locked behind his V-trigger. That V-trigger was super good. But now they've actually buffed him so that he's really frightening even outside of V-Trigger as well. So that's really, really nice.
Somebody who's definitely used to doing things like that, because even offline, my man was driving 2 to 3 hours from Tijuana, Mexico, all the way up to Santa Ana to playing Wednesday night fights just to get all of that work in. Man, that goes to show, like, just the level of dedication, the level of grind that he has to get to this point. And it has to be a beautiful thing to see it pay off like that.
Of course. And, it's always the tip of the iceberg that people see. People only see the success. They see this guy come out of nowhere, right? That's the one thing that always gets me. The guy who comes out of nowhere to get the victory. And
I hate that
been there. I've been there. You get your first notable win. You've been grinding on the down low for years to get there. And only the people in the know really know, and that's why the people in the know, they give their props, give their respect. So I want to see nothing but respect for this man. He has been putting in that work, and if you think you're salty signing up for NLBC or WNF every week, signing in online and playing those matches just to go 0-2, imagine going cross country, crossing international borders every week in order
putting
to
miles on the car. You gotta change that oil soon.
That's some real money. That's some putting your money where your mouth is to get that training in, just to see it pay off in the end. I mean, it's a beautiful thing, and you got to respect the grind. You got to respect the dedication. So I'm so happy for Gama for taking it.
Yeah, honestly, like, I always tell the story of Paradigm. He used to drive 2 hours to the run back to practice at Marvel vs. Capcom 3, Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. He would drive, that's 2 hour drive without traffic that he was doing to go there, and then he would basically stay after the tournament was done and play for hours as well and continue the grind. He would just keep playing, and then he would drive home super late at night. Guys like Beautiful Dude and Fu used to drive to Wednesday night fights, and they would always stay at somebody's house. They were from San Luis Obispo? No, somewhere like that. It was very far away from Wednesday night fights, and they would drive very far. And these are all players who have become very, very strong. And, obviously, as a beginner stream over here, I know the target audience here isn't people looking to become the best in the world and everything like that. But, again, one of the things that I like to talk about with fighting games is the dedication that it takes to play fighting games. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. You got to put in a lot of effort to get good at fighting games. And even on a casual level, it's a lot of work as well. Fighting games are a hard thing to just try to jump online, play ranked casually, and just have a good time. It's not usually how it works for fighting games. You do have to put in time, you do have to put in work, but the thing about it is, you know, you'll put in hours and hours in something like a Dark Souls, for example, like that, and feel like the effort is paying off and everything like that. It's kind of how you have to look at it, right? It's kind of how you have to look at it. Sometimes the enjoyment really does come from you becoming a stronger player and actually starting to get the wins. It's more rewarding that way once you start beating somebody else. Yeah, exactly. I find it hard to get myself up on a weekday to play fighting games online due to my job. It's hard. It's hard, Shadow. It's a lot of work, and the worst thing about it is I know how it feels. You're like, oh, let me go play Street Fighter Online, and then you just think about it for a second. You're like, man, do I really want to do this right now? I'm just gonna go watch something on Netflix. And that's what happens there instead. I have 2 reels. Okay, currently I'm resume. How do I reach bigger events audiences? Fawn, I mean, as commentator, if you want to reach bigger audiences and stuff like that, you just got to keep trying to do what you're doing, right? So you got to do Wednesday Night Fights recently. Just keep doing more Wednesday Night Fights, basically. Just keep doing that. Wednesday Night Fights has always been a wonderful hub for commentators. So just keep doing stuff like that.
I think they do, but you know what? I think we all play our own characters. We're all carried. All of our characters are good at something. They specialize in something. You play Balrog, you're carried by those -4 dash punches. And you play Karen, and you're carried by the most broken neutral in the game. Talking about I'm outplaying you with footsies. Talking about my whip punishes. The character is built to do that. You're carried by that. It's built into the character, right? So every character has things they specialize in. You are not immune from the strengths of your characters, like you're not immune from the strengths of other people's characters. But I'm so glad you brought up the matchup point, because I think this is where you can really see this carried mentality. And I think we got to divvy it up between 2 different spheres, 2 different schools of thoughts, right?
Interesting. I want to see what Brian says.
The beginner intermediate mindset, and then the high level mindset. In the beginner intermediate level mindset, you're carried by that gimmicky character with really strong offense. Oh, yeah. Abigail.
Oh, thank you, RV1.
Jump heavy kick hits you from the ground the moment he leaves the
Sigma
air.
Nuts Cat's butts.
Blanca V-Trigger 2, because you have 0 idea what's going on when he does EX Rainbow Ball, then flies across the screen, then does random EX upward, and somehow it's safe, even though it's not. What's going on is that there's certain characters that have strong gimmicks.
Yes.
And you say, if you are a stronger player, you should still win. Skill is not a linear concept. It's not you go from level 1 to 100. There's many different areas you can improve in as a player. If you have an extremely strong foundation in Street Fighter, which is generally like your whiff punishing, your concept of spacing, your anti-airs, if you're building that up, good on you. You're building a strong foundation for the future to be able to play any character, to be able to play any style, right? Okay, so you're doing this hard work, you're building a strong foundation, and then you lose to someone just doing flips with Abigail, who clearly only knows 2 moves. They know run punch, and they know Abigail flip, and you lose. And you go, wait a minute, I know X, Y, and Z, and this guy is on A and B, and he bodied me. He is carried. Well, maybe, but who cares? The finish line, you guys are here at the beginning of the race. You're a little bit ahead of him, and he beats you. Whatever, who cares? The finish line is in the next country. It's in the next planet. You have so much more to learn for it to even matter. So who cares if he carried you? Who cares if Abigail carried that person over you? Who cares if Balrog carried that other player over you? You have so much more to learn. It's okay. Sometimes you lose to players who are weaker than you because they specialize in something that you just haven't figured out yet.
One of the things that's always interesting is that, you know, I've been talking about this in Soul Calibur recently, that I'm using Killick right now, and Killick is a character who does not have any gimmicks. He's not a character who can, you know, derp his way to victories, and it makes it really hard for me to win because I have to strengthen my actual Soul Calibur fundamentals and it's really tough. I don't get to go ham on you like a Yoshimitsu or something like that, and that makes it really hard for me to win. And I get frustrated with that because I can't just sit there and, you know, go into Volvo stance with Voldo and then just do drive-bys all day and then stomach pump and kill people all day. But, you know, it's just one of those things that it's probably actually making me a better Soul Calibur player overall, having to play a character without gimmicks like that. So absolutely what Brian was saying is that at lower levels you can be carried by a character. At higher levels there's no such thing as getting carried because the knowledge is all there. But at the lower levels, if you do play a character that has gimmicks that can actually gimmick people out, oh, that is definitely Manta PTSD applicative Jones. But like, if you have a character that can carry you early on, that's great and it's wonderful and you feel good about it. But like Brian was saying, once you start getting into the later rounds and that those things can't carry you anymore, the fundamentals that you are not building up by relying on gimmicks. If you ever hear me or Ultra David or anybody else talk about shenanigans or okie dokes when we talk about commentary, when we're on commentary, that's what we're describing. We're describing the gimmicks, the stuff that you expect to hit the opponent because they don't know about it. Like, they don't know that this is a setup for a cross-up. They don't know that this is a setup for, you know, a frame trap or something like that. If you're hitting people with okie dokes like that and winning a lot, you're basically banking on lack of character knowledge. You're banking on your opponent not knowing something, and that's not going to carry you very far in fighting games. I've always said that one of the strongest things and one of the reasons why Japan has always been strong and why West Coast had been pretty strong for quite some time in the United States is because we share tech, right? You tell people how to defeat the thing that you're doing. You educate someone on how to block your okie dokes and your setup. Because if your okie doke isn't a real mix-up, like if you have a setup and you cross up somebody, but there's no way to make it so that you stay in the front, it's not actually a mix-up. If it's a cross-up 100% of the time, then 100% of the time your opponent can block it. Sure, the first time they don't realize it's a cross-up because it's an okie doke, it's a setup. But the thing about it is, if you don't actually have an alternate path to it, once your opponent learns it, it's not even a mix-up, it's not an okie doke, it's nothing. It is completely defendable. If there is a 100% chance, way to defend against something, it is a useless tactic, and it's not a mix-up. So if you're relying on people to get hit by your okie dokes, your shenanigans, for example, and you don't have something to branch off of it, it's a useless tactic in the end. So you'll actually see a lot of the strongest players out there, they'll be like, just switch blocking the other way, but if I choose to do this, then I can still hit you from the front, and it's not a cross-up anymore, etc., etc. Whenever you see people create mix-ups and put out clips on Twitter, if they don't actually show the alternate of the mix-up, it's not a mix-up. Like if they show you this cool Urian cross under trick, Tycho. If they show this crazy cross under trick and then they don't show a corresponding clip where you get to stay on the same side, then there's basically no point to the mix-up. And that's the whole idea of it. You definitely need to have the true mix-up going there for it to be a real thing. Gimmicks, okie dokes, that kind of stuff is not good enough to advance. So if you're relying on stuff like that, then that is a problem. Now, there are some things that you can use every once in a while that's just very hard to react and can catch people off guard. And like I said, that works. But in general, you want to make sure it's a real mix-up. That's all.
I love the variety that West Coast offers in terms of their high-level players. They play so many different characters. I mean, for some reason they have like tons of Lauras and the craziest Rashids. I mean, you also have JB in that mix. Alex Meyer's going to be returning as well. But
Dude,
what I really want to talk about
Fang players in the West Coast.
people are going to do some work. You know, those players that maybe you at home haven't heard of, but you should have. And I got to highlight my guy, Blar Lad. This guy has been grinding every single tournament that the West Coast has to offer. So before COVID, I'd be scrolling through the Twitch section for Street Fighter 5, like, oh, random weekly on a Monday, there's Blar Lad. Random weekly on a Tuesday, there's Blar Lad. WNF, there's Blar Lad. They're every single day of the week.
Blar Lad came really close to doing the last chance qualifiers at Capcom Cup. The last Capcom Cup.
West Coast regulars, they're in WNF every single top 8. Mario, he's rocking some of the cleanest Karen play around, and Luigi playing Guile and G. I love the way these guys approach the game.
I'm surprised that Brian F didn't take the chance to say Mario has the best Karen outside of Punk in North America, just to make Rob TV mad.
They have a similar style with different approaches with their characters. They're real and they're here to do work. So I'm definitely looking for either of them to make top 8. We'll see how it goes. They're my dark horse picks.
You know something interesting with Mario's style? He's extremely analytical. When he pops into your Twitch chat, he's never going to just send you one sentence. It's a complete book every time with some big, deep concept, and he wants your input on it. Extremely analytical player, but one thing that we have to know is that there's more than one type of player. And my dark horse isn't a scientific player as much as a heart player, and that's none other than the Midwest very own, I already brought her up, Mira. When things go well for her, things just tend to snowball. It reminds me a bit of players like Mena RD, for example. Clearly, that doesn't mean that these players don't have tech, that they don't lab, but they're emotional. When things go well off the rails, then it's probably over with. But when it's going good, it's a snowball, a raging bull that's going to be tough to stop. And speaking of raging bulls,
good.
Chicago Bulls, my second sleeper pick is none other than Clegg Madness. If you don't know about him, just Google him, just look him up on Twitter, and you'll see a picture, and you'll see that he is dark skinned and bald, just like Michael Jordan. And if that's the case, he must have the potential in him to be the GOAT. And if his appearance isn't enough to convince you, then how about looking at the results, ladies and gentlemen? CPT America West last year, America West 2, my man makes top 8. In some matches, he's even using Jury's V-Trigger 2. So if he's using Jury's V-Trigger 2 and able to make top 8, then imagine what he could do if he picks V-Trigger 1. Bruh, I'm excited to see my man has all the potential in the world.
Well said, Rob. Excellent dark horse picks. I'm so excited to see how all these matches play out because the talent pool in the NA West.
About 5 minutes left before this starts.
Specialists, some of the most offensive and defensive players that Street Fighter 5 has.
Again, if you guys are tuning in, this is an official Capcom Restream. Hey, thank you, Surmy.
Only 16 remain. Only 16 remain
As
tonight.
Someone who is still a newer player, thank you for Restream.
Oh, I owe you stuff, Surmy, don't I? I owe you some stuff as well.
So please stick around for those matches.
I haven't gotten around to that. I'll try to get that to you at some point soon today or tomorrow after this is done, hopefully. So, just as an FYI to people, this is a beginner restream. I'm here to answer whatever questions that you want to put out. Please retweet my tweet out there to let people know that this exists. That I'm here to give some people, basically give people information. Let me see this. I'm going to change the title of my stream over here. Frames Chen. God, it's been a while since I've been called that.
As Frames Chen.
Because I've forgotten all my frames these days. Too many characters now. I've got my FAT app all ready to go for all the frame data for me to look up in chat, during chat here, just to make sure that I have all the information. That's also one of the other nice things about doing this kind of a stream as well, is that I can refresh my memory on a lot of frames out there as well. I know Rose isn't in the app just yet, so let's see. Yeah, not yet. Not yet. So, I'm sure they'll get that in there. I am a heart player. God, I love this costume for Rose, dude. The pirate costume is the best. It's so cool looking. Such a cool idea. You know, I mean, obviously happy for my boy Corey Bell. Sad to see Justin not make top 16 because I would have loved to have seen him do some damage with Rose. I still haven't had a chance yet to watch like really high level tournament Roses. Just look at this. This character's nuts, dude. She just does whatever the hell she wants. Yeah, Corey Bell made top 16 by defeating Justin Wong. So he's in top 16 on loser's side by eliminating Justin Wong. But again, this is a beginner restream here. If you for those who are just tuning in and such, basically I'm here to answer questions as much as possible. SF5 feels a lot more expressive in season 5. Do you think it's a move from mind game to heart game a bit? I mean, no. No. I'm gonna say that much. Street Fighter 5 definitely has a lot more expressiveness and you can do a lot of cooler things at high level, but the game is still very, very mathematical. Brian F., when he was on the Tuesday show, was talking about this, and he was very spot on, which is why I love listening to Brian F.'s analysis on stuff. Street Fighter 5 still requires a lot of math. There's a lot of math going on in this game. Now, the nice thing about the math in Street Fighter 5 is the math is consistent, right? Being +2 gives you all the information you really need, right? So it's not like every situation do the math. It's like if I'm +2 in this situation, I get to do +2 things. If I'm +1 in this situation, am I a 4-frame character? Oh, I'm not. I am not. So I can do all the things. If I am a 4-frame character, then I have to be careful of 3-frame character. You know, that's just the thing, is the math is going to be consistent regardless of how you ended up with. If you're +2 next to the opponent, no matter what move you did that put you +2 next to the opponent, you have the same exact situation. If you're +2 at this distance, every time you're +2 at this distance, you have the same kind of situations. That's how you want to look at Street Fighter 5. But Street Fighter 5 does require a lot of concentration for understanding what that frame information means, basically. Yeah, no problem, JP Vary. That's what I'm here for. Try to do this a lot more. Yeah, so that's the thing. What Caramel Jenkins says, sorry, JP Vary, but yeah, this is something that I've been trying to do. I tried to do more of last year, but last year was a weird year. I'm trying to get back to it this year and do as much beginner restreams as possible. The variation in the gameplay is the key thing of what Street Fighter 5 is. In early seasons, Street Fighter 5, a lot of the characters did a lot of very similar things, and it really was all about the +2 right next to opponents. But this season, you get a lot more variety between the characters. It's not just about that. The neutral is what has become super fascinating in Street Fighter 5. The neutral is really, really important now. You're in constant character crisis in there. No character really gets me pumped up like in Guilty Gear or BlazBlue. Yeah, so Chili Daddy, the thing is, this game isn't going to be one of those games that's going to have that kind of nutsoid character, although they're starting to crop in here a little bit. I would honestly wait for Akira, you know, next DLC character after Oro. By initial looks, she looks like she's gonna be kind of insane, so she might be a good character. But even characters like Rose right now might be really interesting because they made her really cool. Seth is another one that has a lot of kind of cool variety in there. But the thing about Street Fighter 5 is, you know, to find your character, you're trying to find your character within the confines of how Street Fighter 5 plays, right? That's the hardest part. And that's, like I said, Street Fighter V is one of those games that you have to know that this is the kind of game that you're playing, basically, that it is a very math game, and that it is a very, very frame data heavy game. It's kind of like Tekken, right? You play Tekken and there's all these different characters, but, you know, Tekken is very close quarters, so it doesn't, well, hang on a second. We got the intro video. So Tekken, sometimes it does, like, the character variety is there, but they're all within the confines of Tekken. And same kind of thing with Street Fighter V here. Manat does not play like Spiral, Duck. That is not a thing. Especially because no assists as well. Oh, Caramel Jenkins, Duck knows. Duck knows. Duck Vader, that's Ducto, you know, famous MVC2 champion, one of the greatest of all time.
Ladies and gentlemen, Street Fighter fans
go.
all over the world, it is time for the Capcom Pro Tour 2021. My name is Vicious, here with Ultra David to see who will come out as the best in the West as we cover the North American West qualifier #1. And we are absolutely ecstatic. We were looking throughout the top 16, even further throughout the bracket to see who has eliminated who to get through.
God, the way they're seating,
my favorite
Jeremy
region in
looks
the
way
world. I don't
taller
think
than
that's a big
David.
surprise. This is the region that we're both from, so I'm going to have a blast calling it. Super fun to be here for it. It was cool to listen to Brian and Rob talk about their thoughts on the region as well. You know, I was interested and maybe pleasantly surprised to hear that they had as much positivity to say about the region as they did. I certainly believe a lot in these players here, and we have the top 16 who have made it this far so far.
Yeah, and again, we've grown up in Southern California for a majority of our lives playing Street Fighter in general, right? So seeing some of these players come up to where they're at right now has been probably the biggest payoff, honestly. I mean,
And again, for those of you just tuning in right now, I'm doing a beginner restream here, trying to answer all the questions. Okay, hang on, I'm going to do a tweet really quick. Watch the official stream at twitch.tv/Capcom Fighters, or watch my beginner focused stream where I'll be answering all the questions in chat at twitch.tv/JChensor. Gonna be some awesome action. Let's do that. Yeah, so JB, you can see Filipino Man jumping back. Actually, Filipino Man might be playing some Rose. So we might actually see some Rose there as well. I'm not 100% sure. Rugged, yeah, he definitely has a lot of hair right now. I have a lot of hair right now, Duck, so... why is whiff punishing so hard in SF5 compared to MK? Because most buttons are not whiff punishable on reaction. The buttons that you're going to want to whiff punish on reaction are generally heavies. Medium buttons generally cannot be whiff punished on reaction. They have to be set up and anticipated. They've definitely tried to tweak it a little bit more. Like Chun-Li's back heavy punch, they've nerfed it so that a hurt box lingers behind a lot longer after it whiffs, so it becomes whiff punishable. But basically, that's just the gist of it. In this game, it's mostly the heavy buttons that you can whiff punish on reaction. For the most part, the other ones are like going to be like Birdie actually doing like the light headbutt and then just throwing out stand medium punch, because in general that puts them at a range where the opponent's button will whiff, but it feels like they can hit Birdie, and so Birdie kind of gets one of those auto whiff punish setups basically. So that's the idea right there. PKCZ, official theme song of the CPT 2021. I can feel it coming over me. I feel it all around me. Proximity blocking does not exist in MK. Nope, it does not. That is another reason why it is a little bit easier to whiff punish in Mortal Kombat, because you can actually walk out of ranges a little bit easier because you don't have to hold the block. But if you're not holding block, you're not going to block. Now, obviously that means if you're wrong, you're also going to eat a lot more buttons as well. So it's, you know, one or the other. I'll be trying to do a beginner restream of the Kumite in London as well. As you can see, advertised twitch.tv/Red Bull. I'll be trying to do a beginner restream there as well. I've been working with the Red Bull, talking to the Red Bull crew, so hopefully I'll be able to do that as well.
Non-existent, unfortunately, but he's pretty good now. I mean, like, he's decent. He's pretty decent now. Akuma versus Dalsum, pretty much a test of time. Balrog versus Laura.
Yeah.
Also in the top 16. But going through it, we actually have one Rose player through the hands of Filipino Man. I'm glad that he's found his main again and is having a great time with him. I know I was in a Discord watching him train with this character, and he's just so happy to even have him. And then, of course, Luigi rocking that guile, using that EX flash kick as many times as he possibly could, which is great. It's got him this far, right? JB claiming him as West Coast now, still sticking it out with Rashid. Corey Bell making that transition, that slow but steady one between Zangief into Ed. Seeing the fruits of his labor now. Akita with Dalsim, Stupendous sticking it out with Zangief, but who's also been dabbling with a ton of other characters. So we'll see how that matchup goes. And then, of course, Alex Myers sticking it out with Cammy this time. Does have the Chun on the back burner just in case, going up against Commander Jesse, who has been playing with a ton of other characters.
Is Alex Myers the only Cammy here, now that I think about it?
Just mentioned. Interestingly, the character that shows up the most is Dalsum. There are 3 Dalsums.
How do you feel about that, David?
Well, look, I mean, I played Dalsum. He's a good character. At the beginning of the season, there was a little bit of trepidation. He got nerfed in a few different ways. But, right, the anti-air is a little bit worse, float's a little bit worse. That said, V-Shift really helps him out. It's really a helpful tool.
Yeah,
he gets away just much more consistently. He gets, I mean, there are some things in the game that you can react to with V-Shift and punish. Dalsum makes good utility of that. And his triggers are useful. V-Trigger is really fun. But if you're spending your V-meter on V-Reversal or on V-Shift to get away more consistently, then you're more consistently at that spot where Dalsum is good. And that's what he's been able to do, I feel, in this season. So I do think that he's still quite strong.
And then you have characters like Ed and Falk for the most part.
What's interesting is that
they've given him a little bit more off of like V-Trigger and some of.
We don't have any cammies here except for Alex Myers. So unless Alex Myers, if Alex Myers can make the run from loser side and take this whole tournament, that will be 3 cammies that we have in the CPT so far. But things might not work out that way. And yeah, Corey Bell has been using Ed more than Zangief, so I paid too little attention. Like, what's a crush counter? So Applicative Jones, there's normal counter hits, right? Just like in most fighting games, if you get hit while your move is in its active frames, so I throw out a move and I get hit during the startup, actually I should say, not my active frames. If I get hit during my startup frames, you get a counter hit. This is common across very, very many fighting games. Now, what benefits do you get out of a counter hit? Depends on the fighting game. In Street Fighter V, you get extra damage. You also get 2 extra frames of hit stun. So if something normally would be +3 on hit, becomes +5 on counter hit, so that you can actually get extra combos. There are certain moves in this game that just register crush counters if they hit the opponent with a counter hit. And the crush counter basically adds a bunch of stuff in terms of how the enemy reacts. So for example, some will make you spin and twirl, which lets you dash up and get more combos. Some will make you crumple to the ground so you can get better combos. Some will automatically launch you into the air to give you better combos, etc., etc. It does create a little bit of damage scaling, extra damage scaling, because throughout the years, crush counters turned out to be a little too strong, which almost kind of defeated their purpose a little bit, but they do give you combo extensions. And so that's basically the idea of what a crush counter is. It's a certain moves, like for example, Cammy uses the ugliest Falk costume in the game, so you don't have to look for it. You can count on the Americans to have the good quotes. Basically, what happens is that
her model looks cool, I would say.
Okay. What the heck was I just saying before I got interrupted by that? I was talking about the crush counter. And I forgot what I was going to say about it now. Oh, that's right. So, for example, Cammy, her crush counter button is standing heavy kick. She doesn't have any other crush counters. Nothing else crush counters for her except for... Oh, her V-Skill 2 crush counters now. That's right. They just gave V-Skill 2 the ability to crush counter. Meanwhile, someone like Bison, standing heavy kick... Oh, that's right. Everybody's sweep also crush counters as well. Everybody's crouching heavy kick can crush counter. That's just by nature of game design. But for someone like Bison, standing heavy kick, Psycho Axe also crush counters, which is down forward plus heavy kick. Heavy punch. So it just depends on the character which buttons crush counter. In fact, some of the patches have actually changed what moves crush counter. They actually took away Karen's crush counter on standing heavy punch just to make it, to buff her actually. It was actually a good thing that they took away the crush counter on her standing heavy punch. So, you know, they can change what moves they want to assign that way. Now, Falk is not a very strong character. She wants to stand at that range. She wants to be at that range. And so what you're going to see is that Nephew is going to want to try to keep this range as much as possible. Falk's strength is that she's a zoner, but she's a zoner not from full screen. When you hear zoner, generally you think, oh yeah, I want to get a full screen away and chuck fireballs, zoning. Street Fighter V zoning very rarely works that way. Oh, here we go. And what Rambro wants to do is get into about that range right here. This range. This is a great zoning range for Falk. Why? Because of towards heavy punch, because she can take a step, do standing medium kick into gunshot. Oh, now the reason why Nephew got hit by that, because I just don't think he even was expecting it. He just started walking forward, and when he saw that, he probably thought it was a jump, not the V-trigger. That's a V-trigger move, and wow. So Rambo right now is showing Nephew that he is willing to do a lot of EX uppercuts. And what that might actually do is cause Nephew to rethink what he wants to do as pressure. But I'm really curious to see how, if that actually changes Nephew's aggressiveness. So the reason why Karen's removal of the crush counter was actually a boon was because a lot of people would confirm standing heavy punch into Tenko into...
Okay, the reversals have come out, and they have been 3 for 3 so far for Rambro.
Decent chunk of damage.
But that's not a lot of damage, though. He'd better hope he wins this, and he's got the V-trigger there. But Falk's V-trigger 2's weakness is you can't activate it unless you get a confirm on a hit, because otherwise it's punishable. Oh, nice. Closing the distance. Nephew did a good job there, playing a distance game and then suddenly jumping in there. And so this is troublesome for Rambro because he spent all that meter and did not get anything out of it. Now on Twitter before this, he said his hands are like shaking, like massively shaking. So you know this guy is super nervous right now. But yeah, so Karen's would actually confirm standing heavy punch into just frame Tenko on hit. But if it was ever a crush counter and they confirmed it, the crush counter popped the opponent into the air and you would do the just frame Tenko and you would actually whiff and lose damage. So they took away the crush counter from Karin's standing heavy punch so that she can always hit confirm it and get something out of it. Of course, one of the biggest nerfs that they gave to Colleen this season was that her V-trigger depletes a lot faster. So Boltolini asks, I've been having a lot of trouble trying to zone as Rose from full screen, especially against characters with Hado fireballs like Akuma and Kage. Yeah, so if you want to zone with Rose, you're probably going to have to pick V-Trigger 1, so you have the cards that you can throw as well. But again, Street Fighter V does not favor full screen zoning. That is not the right range in which you want to zone with a character like Rose, because the thing about it is this gives the opponent the ability to jump from full screen. So if this is my playing field, from over here you throw a fireball, they can jump And Rose can't really do anything about this. You want to be a little closer with Rose, so if you bait out a jump, you can get him with the the scarf. You can catch him with the scarf out of the air and such. Full screen zoner basically doesn't exist in this game. So, for example, if you are Manat as well, Manat's a great zoner, but she wants to zone at the tip of standing heavy punch. In general, you want to make sure that you're zoning in this game from a 3/4 screen away. So one of the important things that I've often talked about in Street Fighter V is ranges. I have a total of 6 ranges. Range 0 is when you're right next to somebody. Range 1 is when you're slightly further away. Range 2, range 3, range 4, range 5. So I have 5 ranges, and 5 is basically a full screen away. In general, there's no zoning at full screen. Street Fighter V is just not designed to be a full screen kind of game. It's just the fireballs do not do enough chip. They're not fast enough to be threatening like a Ryu, an old school Ryu, an old school Guile, an old school Sagat. The fireballs just aren't threatening enough from a full screen away. The closest might be kind of Dhalsim, but Dhalsim in general, even at a full screen away, is less effective unless he jumps. Like at range 5, he's less effective than he is at range 4. Range 4 is where he actually prefers to be. There's very, very little full screen zoning in this game. And so we've seen here already Nephew blocking one of the EX uppercuts from Rambro. Rambro had been pretty successful landing them. And, you know, I think what Nephew has been doing is... So here's the thing, right? One of the things that you're doing when you actually play fighting games here, like, for example, when he called out the EX uppercut, he got hit by, like, 3 EX uppercuts and a wake-up super. And Nephew still took game 1. So basically, Nephew is willing to take the wake-up damage. This is why, right there, you saw right there, that is why Falk is a mid-screen zoner. That standing medium kick into gunshot right there is plus on block. And that is a very, very powerful sequence for a Falk. She stays at this range where she can zone you with like towards heavy punch and stuff, but then she only needs to walk ever so slightly to get standing medium kick into gunshot, which pushes you back to the range that she wants you to be at again. So see right there, standing medium kick into gunshot, she's plus on block, resets her back into the distance that she wants to be in. And going back to that EX uppercut right there, Nephew is willing to eat those EX uppercuts because he's still winning. So what he's doing here is he's just allowing Rambro to hit him with these EX uppercuts because he's not taking a lot of damage. And the more you build up Rambro's confidence in being able to throw out those EX uppercuts reliably means that he'll probably get to kill him. See, look, here you go. Nephew has eaten so many wake-ups, and he's still winning. So as a player, you don't get discouraged by getting hit by the wake-up uppercut. If the opponent is getting the wake-up uppercut, and most EX uppercuts do not give the character Oki in this game. That's just generally how Street Fighter V is designed, because having an EX uppercut to bust out of things and getting Oki is kind of considered overpowered in Street Fighter V, so they don't have that there. So Nephew is like, you know what, I'm just going to keep pressuring. I'm going to let him hit me with EX uppercut because he's using his meter, he's not doing a lot of damage, and I'm winning anyway. So why not keep getting hit by it to build up their confidence in it so that in a clutch situation, which Nephew didn't need, just because we don't see the payoff from Nephew, but because he was getting that confidence built into Rambro, he probably would have been able to predict one time when he had full resources to block the EX uppercut and punish with the super to win a round. So save that for the time that you know you have the resources to really punish it. Like I said, we didn't have to see that happen because Nephew was able to win without it. But again, him getting hit by EX uppercut over and over again does not mean Nephew was guessing wrong. It means that Nephew was willing to take that damage because in the grand scheme of things, it had very little effect on his side of the match, and he had the potential to utilize that and build Rambro's confidence in doing the EX uppercut so he could bait it out later. These are the high-level things that you have to consider in fighting games. Getting hit, life is a resource. Life is a resource just like everything else. Getting a perfect game in Street Fighter V does not mean you get a perfect. That if you played perfectly and you did everything right and made all the right decisions, that does not mean you get a perfect, because life is a resource, and that's very, very, very important. Since the loser of this first game has to wait a good while before playing one more time, what are some ways to keep yourself focused? Go on ranked. Keep playing ranked. I talked about the Falks. Mortzy, a Falk player here. And I love that. There are so many Falk players in Southern California or in West Coast. And Falk is a character that's very underrated. Now, fortunately, this is NA West, so... God, my cat jumped on my leg and just scratched the hell out of me. Ow! Ow! Stop using your claws when you jump on my leg, Jasmine. You don't have to use claws. You can use your pads. You have pads on your feet for a reason. Ow! Ow! Oh, nice. Showing how strong the Pacific Northwest is. But only one of us could make it to top 8 winners, and I'm gonna make sure it's me. Yeah, see? Nathan doesn't jump on my legs with claws. He just jumps up normally. Good lord. See, he just jumps on here normally. Don't use your claws, Jasmine.
I'm curious to see how fast Chris is going to try to mow down the line of defense that Fong presents. Right? We're talking about,
good boy. Good boy. Ow. Jesus. If I could show you the blood on my leg right now, dude. I might be violating Twitch terms of service here. You know those comics where they show people who own cats being like, "I love you" with scars all over them is real, dude. Hi, kitty. And also, again, nice thing here is Street Fighter V Season Pass, and you get you've got a premium pass, and they do a good job with the deals here. But so Sakura, obviously a character who wants to get in on you and is going to be able to do that a lot with her foot speed. Fong is a character who, again, started off feeling like, oh, Fong is the zoner of Street Fighter V along with Dulce. No, Fong is not a zoner. He has the ability to frustrate opponents and keep them out, but he has some of the deadliest mix-ups in the game. The problem is that range right there is exactly where Sakura wants to be, and you can see what happens right here. Just a quick start from Chris CCH. Once he got in, he was able to just maintain that. So here we go. Let's talk about this. So that's negative right there. Okay, here we go. Mortzy decides to get in here, but I just want to point. So plus frames. Okay, gets the hit, gets the knockdown, gets the a little bit of Oki after that. But you can see Mortzy making sure. I think she's negative after that uppercut. I'm not 100% sure after the uppercut into the dash. So there we go, unleashes the poison right there. But see, this is where Street Fighter V has gotten really strong, as the neutral has gotten a lot more interesting here. You see that they're not playing point blank the entire time. But here we go, now that Chris CCH has managed to get in, he's going to try to be as aggressive as possible. But here we go, Mortzy now, mix-up time. This is the scary part. So yeah, that's actually smart from Chris CCH to try to activate to try to present a counter threat. That's plus on block right there. Okay, good block on the mix-up, but then a frame trap right there. So the idea right there was that, he teleported, went for the cross-up. But what made that beautiful from Mortzy is normally what you do is you do that cross-up, and if they get hit, you confirm into a combo. I've often said the problem with a lot of people and their mix-ups and their okey-dokes is that their okey-doke fails, they have nothing to branch off of. They have no idea what to do afterwards. Mortzy went to the other side. Chris CCH blocked the mix-up successfully, and then Mortzy was already prepared to go for the frame trap afterwards. That shows higher level play. A lot of the times you count on your mix-up landing, and when it doesn't, you're like, oh no, my mix-up didn't hit. I can't do my combo. Now what do I do? And then you do nothing. And then you don't get anything out of it. So when Mortzy threw those fireballs and did the command dash behind Chris CCH, even though Chris CCH blocked the mix-up, Mortzy already knew to kind of stagger the next button into a frame trap that got Chris CCH hit. So again, you want to make sure that when you do that, when you are playing Street Fighter V, always have the option coming up next. Always make sure you know what you want to do afterwards. You know, it's not just about having the mix-up. It's about having the plan of attack if your mix-up fails. And dude, did we just get 3 stuns in 3 wins for Chris CCH? This is brutal. And again, one of the reasons why this is possible because Sakura's so fast. It's so hard to pinpoint where she's going to be. And Fang needs to use a lot of this distancing. You can see Mortzy's trying to be more aggressive, and that was a smart combo from Chris CCH to switch the sides and wake up buttons right there, knowing that that wasn't real. And here we go. Plus, so goes for the throw tech right there. And that's always the dangerous thing. And remember, when you're plus frames, oh, what a confirm. So plus frames, okay, yeah, that's not exactly plus. At that range right there is not, see right there, you actually saw Mortzy get the button out ahead of time. But I think that's because also the V trigger ran out. It's not actually plus, but that it works really well because Sakura's standing light kick also reaches far and fast in about 4 or 5 frames. Let me look up. I believe it's a 4-frame standing light kick. It might be 5, actually, because if it was 4 frames, I think that would be busted. Standing light kick. No, it is 4 frames. Okay, it is 4 frames. So at that range, most characters don't have a 4-frame button that can reach. So even if she's minus at that range, she's the only one with a 4-frame button that can hit at that distance. So when she does light kick into fireball, while she is most, let me see, V-trigger fireball here. I just want to see what the frame data is on V-trigger fireball here. So V-trigger fireball is, oh, they are +1 on block. Okay, so they're +1 and they're +1 and she has a 4-frame button. So at that range, yeah, if you're blocking that fireball and she does light kick fireball as a loop, as a block string, there is very little most characters can do. There is very, very little most characters can do. Watching Daigo playing Fang made me nervous he would become more popular. That's funny. Yeah, Chris CCH has been great for a very, very long time. That is blood, ladies and gentlemen. That is blood. That is blood. But good job to Chris CCH to taking that first game there. Oof. Ow. It's warm here in Southern. You know this, Caramel Jenkins. It's warm. I have to wear shorts right now. Oh, man. Oh, man.
He even has a pocket Blanca. See, I'm already getting confused. Pocket Blanca. That is, we've seen that even at Capcom Cup stage, like in the last chance qualifier, making it that far. So,
Super Famicom, my cat tried to jump on my leg. And she always tries to use claws to make sure she gets a sturdy landing. So she jumped on my leg and was just like, "Ow!" And that's what happened right there. Yeah. Oof. Ouch. Okay, I mean, look at this. I have a scar right here on my arm. Got a scar on my the top of my hand over here. Yeah, it was Jasmine. It was Jasmine. I've got scars everywhere because of these cats. Oh, man. Sink her claws into your arm and pull herself up. When she made it up, she was scared of all the pain sounds I was making. Yeah, pretty much. Oh, man. Ouch. Hey, welcome you to the Chensor Dynasty. Thanks for following. Again, if you guys are enjoying this, definitely let me know. And this is something that I'm planning to try to do as much as possible. If you watch a lot of these beginner restreams here that I'm going to do, I may end up answering a lot of the questions multiple times, but that's fine because I want to answer everything as much as possible. Again, the stream is designed to be very beginner friendly, so if you have any questions, regardless of what the question is, just let me know, and I'm totally down to answer as many questions as possible. And like I said, when I'm doing the match here, the thing that I want to talk about as much as I can as well is why they're making decisions and why things are happening and taking the time, so I don't have to react to hype moments. I can just keep talking about what I want to do. And of course, Samurai is going to be the guy with the Japanese quote. Oh, thank you, Boltolini. Appreciate it. Let's have a good time. Come on, Samurai. You can do better than that. No, that's on par for him.
I don't know, this guy's good though. Because I beat it.
I love it. Dankadius. Now, we have mentioned that there are 3 Dhalsims in this top 16. So, Dhalsim, a character that when this season started, all Dhalsim players were like, RIP Dhalsim! But that's what they do every season. Dhalsim, clearly a very, very strong character. He didn't say, I'll do my best. That's true. Did you use your cat's name Squirrel? Or did you have a squirrel, Super Famicom, as a pet? Are you allowed to have squirrels as pets? I mean, I'd be totally down. That's a good question, Naughty Senpai. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not 100% sure. Oh, are they doing the Intel World Open now? They're actually moving on with it finally this year, it looks like. Okay, okay. And then, of course, next weekend is going to be Asia East. That is going to be a very interesting tournament. I will not be doing a beginner restream for that because I will actually be commentating that one. And I will also be getting my second shot before I do the top 8. So there is a potential chance I might be dying on the top 8, which will be entertaining in and of itself. Korean squirrels, dude, that's awesome. That's awesome. All right, here we go. So, look, Samurai's still on the Akuma. Interesting. Now again, Dhalsim doesn't want to be a full screen, and Dankadius is a very mobile Dhalsim. That jumping heavy punch was definitely an execution error, but you know, Dankadius is really good at maneuvering with the teleport. And it's really, really cool because Dankadius is pretty new to fighting games, so he hasn't had a lot of old school Dhalsim habits to make him not play Dhalsim optimally in Street Fighter V. So he's learned Dhalsim just through this movement, so his movements are really good. And that's one of the things that you're going to notice about Dankadius first and foremost is how kinetic he is with his Dhalsim. And you can see he's not even trying to zone. And good block. So he's willing to take the throw again. So remember how I said that most EXDPs make it so that you don't actually get any Oki afterwards. Throws are the same. In general, only in the corner do throws become really, really terrifying. But in the middle of the screen, taking throws usually means you get away. Again, resources, spending life to get away from Oki situations. If you feel like you can sacrifice that health, take the throw. And I know it's a meme, but it's still one of the most legit strategies. Take the throw. right here and reset the situation. See, Denka Diaz took that damage, but you see he got up, and there wasn't really anything Samurai could do to create the pressure. I like Samurai teleporting in the corner back just to keep himself from cooking anymore. Oh, that's good, Mike. Okay, that's good. Glad to hear that. So hopefully I won't be dead. All right, here we go. And he's got a lot of resources as well. So again, no, he took the hit. He took the hit. I'm surprised there. I mean, Denka Diaz had the ability to take one more throw before he died. I'm surprised he wasn't willing to do that, but the pressure actually just got to him. Oh, yeah. See, that's a read right there. That's not a reaction or anything like that. Samurai's been noticing that at point blank he's been drilling like that, so he just had the V skill ready to go. And, you know, having the knowledge to use the V skill to stop the drill might not even be something that he knew ahead of time, but just like, oh, he keeps drilling. How do I stop that? Oh, wait, I have a parry. Let's go ahead and try that option. You know, he might have even made it up on the spot. Knowing Samurai, probably not. It's probably something he's done many, many times, the Dhalsims. But nice V reversal right there. Spend that meter to not cook and to not give Dhalsim the frame advantage. But look at this, Denka Diaz now just needs, but the problem with it right now is that Samurai has a lot of resources. Now, see, in this situation, the first thing that you're supposed to do is look at your resources. Now Samurai already knows what combo he's going to do into Super in the ways that he can start combos. I don't know Samurai enough, and I don't know his I don't know what his favorite ways of starting combos are, but crouching medium kick, fireball super, or standing light kick into super are two very, very common super starters for Samurai. And so basically what's happening is that in that situation where Samurai knew he needed to make the comeback, it's not like, okay, let's make a comeback. The first thing Samurai did was look at his meter and go, okay, I've got a trigger, I've got super meter, what are my ways I'm going to land the super for the comeback? Okay, I need to sneak in there and get him to walk backwards so I can do low forward fireball super, or I need to interrupt one of his buttons with my standing light kick into super. You know, he already has what he wants to do with it. A lot of times you'll see players, they forget to look at their resources, and then when they hit that combo that's going to be the kill, they don't combo into the super. And I'm 100% guilty of this as well. Oh, dang. Oh, that's scary, Investigation Cone. That's scary. How scary is the Dhalsim Fire Patch? Like, do you need to expend everything possible to get out, or is it an option to sit in and sacrifice health? It is definitely an option to sit in and sacrifice health. There's definitely nothing terribly wrong with that idea, especially if you have a giant life lead. It's only gray health, and so if you think you can take it, take it. Yep, see right there, he tried to shimmy him. Oh, he should be... No! Samurai with a dropped combo. That is very rare. That is very rare. But you saw right there again, the key factor was that Samurai went for a shimmy and Denka Diaz did nothing. Denka Diaz, again, willing to take the throw. As much as it's a meme, and I hate that it's become a meme, but taking the throw is a legit strategy in this game. And you know, it's like I said, there's obviously situations where someone who takes the throw dies because of it. But 90% of the time, it's the right thing to do if you're in the middle of the screen. And what's happening right here is you can see what's happening is that Samurai was trying so hard to get in on Denka Diaz. He was going for demon flips. He was doing all sorts of stuff right there. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, is a sign of frustration. Something that very rarely happens to Samurai, but you could clearly see in his gameplay that he got frustrated because he kept trying to do stuff. And that's what Dhalsims do. Their whole goal is to get you frustrated, which is why in the Shoryuken scrimmage yesterday, I was admiring that in an anti-Dhalsim match, the Sakura player, Emma Sirik, kept backdashing and resetting the situation, because that's what you have to do sometimes. When Dhalsim starts to get their zoning going, the worst thing you can do is to try to navigate that zoning as much as possible, because your frustration and your predictability becomes high. And you saw there at the end sequence that Denka Diaz just like countered like 5 things in a row, and that damage added up. Had Samurai actually backdashed, teleported backwards or jumped backwards and went a screen away and went, okay, let's get back in there and calm down and let's get in, he would have had a better chance of winning. The whole goal of Dhalsim is to get you into that frustrated state so that you will kill yourself, so that you will hang yourself. And that's what happened in that situation. Samurai needed to calm down a little bit, but weirdly enough, he actually, I think, got a little bit flustered and allowed Denka Diaz to control the match. Do I prefer the throw system in 5 or 4? That depends on what you mean, Turlast. Do you mean, do I just like the frame datas of it and all that stuff? Or do I like the entire environment around the throws? So I like 5 a lot better because crouch teching in Street Fighter 4 was very powerful, and learning to try to frame trap people with the perfect timing to hit their 3-frame button in the 2 frames that it was coming out so that you can actually get a big combo was really annoying. Crouch teching is too powerful, and I did not like that in Street Fighter 4. Throws in Street Fighter 5 cannot be reacted to, but they can't be reactable. If they were purely reactable to escape, Street Fighter 5 would not have an offense. At the start of the stream, I said if there's one way to get away from something, then there's no mix-up. If throws were 100% purely reactable to be teched in this game, you would have to take small amount of damage when you tech the throw, for example. Otherwise, throws would be too powerful. So I like the way Street Fighter V has built in the little mini game around the throws and the shimmy and the button press, right? That's the Street Fighter RPS. When you are next to an opponent, do you hit the button, do you throw, or do you shimmy? That's your rock, paper, scissors options on the offense. And they work with each other well. The problem with the Street Fighter V for a lot of people is that it's very one-to-one. It's very one-to-one. You don't have an uppercut FADC. You don't have a backdash that can help fight multiple options but still have a weakness on their own. That is one of the things that makes Street Fighter V so terrifying when you get knocked down, is that it really is a one-to-one-to-one RPS. It's a rock, paper, scissors. Right? If you decide to block and they throw you, it sucks, right? If you decide to throw as soon as you get up, you get hit, or hit a button when you get up, you get hit by their meaty. If you decide to delay tech and then they shimmy, you're going to whiff the throw and then they're going to punish that. And so that's kind of the RPS there, and there's no real way to avoid that when you're in that situation, when you get knocked down or when the opponent is +2 in your face. You just have to play that game, and it's very uncomfortable. But again, as I was talking about with the Nephew situation, you know, Nephew was choosing to eat the EX uppercut repeatedly. So the option that Rambro was going with was the Wake Up EX. As I said, perhaps he was doing that on purpose because it wasn't giving Rambro the games. And so at that point in time, he was conditioning him. And so it's really not as much of an RPS as you think. It's really about understanding your opponent, learning the story being told by the opponent, and knowing how to react to that situation. So the story being told by Rambro is, I'm going to EX uppercut a lot. Nephew wasn't losing, so he's going to keep doing it. But at the same time, he kept that story in mind. Nephew didn't ever have to read the ending of that story because he won without it really coming up. But like I said, there's no doubt in my mind that at a key clutch moment, he was going to block a wake-up EX uppercut when he had all of his resources and was going to punish it really, really badly. Because in his head, the story is wake up uppercut, wake up uppercut, wake up uppercut, wake up uppercut, wake up uppercut. And so he knows that he's conditioned Rambro to doing that. And that's kind of one of the keys right there. Fresh Cyborg, we just did that yesterday. We had a Shoryuken scrimmage yesterday. It was announced on Thursday, so we gave everybody a whole day to know that it happened. So it's not your fault. We'll try to announce it earlier next time. Ghost and Goblins playthrough. I've been thinking about it. I just haven't done anything except for play fighting games on stream recently. I haven't been playing a lot of other games. I need to finish, Celeste. I need to finish Outer Wilds. I need to finish Resident Evil 7. I've got all these things that I need to do. Yeah, my backlog is gigantic. While they're running ads, I'm gonna run a 30-second ad here, so don't go anywhere, guys. Let's do this. Where's the 30-second ad thingamajiggy? There we go. 30-second ad break. Let's do this. All right. And again, if you don't want to see these ads, you want to hear my amazing commentary during the course of the stream at all times, make sure you subscribe so that you don't have to deal with ads and such. Yeah, Fresh Cyborg, like I said, it's not your fault. We definitely announced it very, very late. So just in case the ad was going and you didn't hear me say that, Fresh Cyborg, no worries. We announced the Shoryuken scrimmage very late, so no shock that you didn't get to catch it on time. We just only had one day. That Intel World Open was what they were trying to do for the Olympics, to tie in with the Olympics. And since the Olympics got canceled, they also canceled that Intel World Open. So that Intel World Open is going to be basically it was what they were planning to do last year, because I think Tokyo is trying to move ahead with the Olympics, but I'm not sure now, because I heard Japan is having problems with COVID, and I know that Daigo just reported he caught COVID. Daigo Umehara announced on Twitter yesterday that he he tested positive for COVID, and he's on his road to recovery right now. And that's terrifying and scary, to be honest.
Let's check it out. So as you can see, already Nephew and UIU Chris CCH.
So Nephew, Chris CCH, and Denka Diaz are done for the day. They're only going to start playing tomorrow. So, oh, but how will it work? Like online regionals, on person fight? That I have no idea. Gabriel. We don't have any information on that now. I think it was supposed to be online qualifiers. I'm not sure, but I don't remember at this point in time. Does he do IRL walking streams? That actually sounds kind of neat. Have I ever thought about reviewing my own matches? I have trouble reviewing my own matches, Fat Cat, because I get really self-conscious about watching my own matches. So I have trouble doing that. So I don't review a lot of my matches a lot of the times. It's kind of sad. Oh, I can imagine, Gabriel. I can imagine. Yeah, the pink gift box right there. Fat Cat, longtime supporter. 50 gift subs, dang, check you out. And a 1-year subscriber as well. What's going on, Tavi Turnip? It's going well so far. I mean, ask the people in the chat who have been here watching for most of the time. whether they've been enjoying it. Like I said, I've been doing a beginner stream talking about, fighting games from a very high level standpoint, taking the time to explain the concepts thoroughly that I tried to do on the actual streams, like when I'm in studio, but then I end up cutting myself off or I talk too long, etc. So now I can just kind of keep doing this as long as I can. So they stream snipe him to give him stuff. That's cool. Okay, Mira is one of the best Lauras, and dealing with her pressure will be a big challenge. Yeah, I really think Mira is one of the strongest up-and-coming players right now in the West Coast. She hasn't had that breakout victory yet, but I think it's pretty due. I think she's right there. In fact, if this tournament turns out to be her breakout tournament, I would not be surprised. Off and online, so I'm really looking forward to playing Matoha again.
Oh, I definitely do appreciate it.
Yeah, it's crazy. And, fortunately, I heard that our government is deciding to lift the patents on our vaccine so other countries can use them. I mean, what a terrible thing why did we even have patents on the vaccine in the first place? God, but that's a whole nother story. So hopefully it'll be getting around. So just waiving the fee, is that what it is? Oh, dear Lord. I guess that's still better than nothing, though. That's still better than nothing. If you're wondering what I'm doing here, I'm still wiping the blood off my leg caused by Jasmine earlier today. Yeah, I mean, California has done really well in terms of pushing the vaccine and just people, doing the vaccine. And so we actually had 2 days in a row of no COVID deaths reported, which is wild because California was actually one of the hotbeds at one point in time. Oh, what's up, John Milkson? What's going on? So this is actually a match that I think Balrogs don't like because Balrog can get rushed down, and once Laura starts going, so Laura is a what do you want to call it? Like a spiraling character. Like once she gets you, like everything just completely spirals out of control, and that's the idea. So I think the reason why Mataoha is going with V skill 2 is he wants to be able to see, look at this right here. This is where it all starts to go downhill. Laura's options are very scary when she gets up close, and she gets the stun here, should be able to take the round. So Laura's specialty is not hit confirm combos. Like, she doesn't get medium punch into something like a lot of other characters do. She actually has trouble doing that kind of pressure. Her pressure mostly comes from just, am I going to shimmy you? See, there was a shimmy right there. Dashes up, but that's not real. So Mataoha knows that. Goes with the standing light kick, which is 3 frames to interrupt that. But here we go. So whenever Laura hits you with that, so this is the key thing. When Laura hits you with the light elbow, she's, guess what? She's +2, I believe. It's +2 or +1, but I'm pretty sure it's +2. And earlier in the stream, I've been talking about +2 a lot. +2 is one of the most important frame data situations you can be. Yeah, on hit, +2. +2 frames is one of the most important frame data numbers that you can have when you're next to somebody. So when you're right next to her, her 5-frame command throw is going to beat your 3-frame button because they'll hit on the same frame, and throws override normals. Or she can do crouching light kick that'll stop you from jumping backwards, which combos into crouching light punch, which combos into light elbow, and so you're in that exact same mix-up again. Oh god, the reset this time? So +2. Jesus!
You can't get out of it.
Wow, that is already some pre-knowledge that was going to happen right there. And this, so like I said, this is what Laura does. Laura's never out of the round. You cannot consider yourself having defeated Laura until she is KO'd. That's basically what happens. I mean, V-Shift might have actually hurt Laura, but you saw right there that Mira had that on read already. She already had something ready to go to blow that up. It's a good anti-air here, but +2 is important. So getting hit by the light elbow is really, really important for Laura to get. Once she hits you with the light elbow, you are trapped in a mix-up situation, and you have to guess. So you saw right there, light kick, crouching light punch into elbow. See, that +2 right there sets up the shimmy, sets up the RPS. So Mira went for the shimmy option afterwards. But remember, if you block the light elbow, she's -2, aka your +2. So anytime you block Laura's light elbow, you have the mix-up right there. As soon as you block that, you have the mix-up. So if Laura's are using light elbows to try to sneak in there, it is your responsibility to make sure she dies as badly as possible. You have a mix-up. If you're blocking Laura's light elbow and you're not taking advantage of it as much as possible, you are making a big mistake. You have to make sure you take advantage of your +2 on blocking Laura's light elbow. But there you go, the shimmy at the end right there is going to take it. And that's why Laura snowballs. That's the word I'm looking for. She's a snowball character. She's a snowball character. That's why Laura snowballs so well, because a lot of the things she does, she's probably one of the more vortexy characters. If you guys remember in Street Fighter 4, vortex is a common term for mix-ups that lead into itself. And that's what Laura does. She does a lot of mix-ups that lead back into itself, and that's what makes Laura scary. That's what makes her a snowball character. So she's definitely more vortexy than a lot of other characters. That's why players like Idom, like Mira, are never actually out of a round, because once they get in one time, it all goes crazy at that point in time. And that's the thing, Tavi Turnip. Like, what's interesting about that is sit down and mess with Laura for a little bit. And one of the things you'll learn about Laura is that she actually has really kind of bad ground options. Her ground game is not very good. Her neutral game is pretty weak. And like I said, when she's right up next to you, she doesn't have a lot of confirms off of medium buttons. Like if you do medium punch and you try to combo into light kick, like light kick just misses. It's really about low short, low jab. And so her ground options are actually kind of right. And so that's the thing. She has meaty or overhead or throw or fireball. She has the toolset, but she has to get in and start that going. It's a really interesting way that Laura's designed. And I'm kind of glad that in all the balance patches, they didn't choose to make Laura more overall well-rounded, but they decided to keep her that way so that she's a snowball character. I'm really glad they left Laura as a snowball character. But again, lots of Laura's, because her normals on the ground are really bad, right? Her normals on the ground are not very good. She's got decent buttons, but they're not great for footsies. That's why her light elbow is safe on block, because that is an option for her to throw out a light elbow and fish. If she hits you, everything gets started. Time for Laura. Laura, let's go. If it's blocked, you had better take advantage of your +2 on that block and now start to destroy her for doing that. If you're blocking that and all you're doing is jabbing every single time to take your turn to make sure she doesn't do anything, she's safe. She's gonna light elbow in, fish, block your jabs, and then she's out of there. Block your 3-frame buttons, and then she's out of there. She gets to fish with that all day for free. So if you block the light elbow, you want to jab maybe the first or second time to condition them into thinking that you're going to do that. But remember, what is the +2 situation? It's the Street Fighter RPS. So after you block Laura's elbow, every RPS option is available to you. You hit the button to take your turn to beat their button. You throw them in case they block, or you can block Laura's elbow and guess what? Walk backwards, Because in a +2 situation, even if it's them blocking your standing medium punch, or you getting a +2 situation because you blocked their light elbow, shimmy is an option. So if you block Laura's light elbow, you absolutely can walk backwards. And then because nothing's happening, they figured you're trying to throw them, they whiff the throw and you can punish them. +2 is so important in Street Fighter. +2 is so important in Street Fighter 5 because every time you're +2 or right next to somebody, you get the Street Fighter RPS and it is in your favor. So if you are blocking Laura's light elbow and you are not putting her into a mix, you are letting her get away with fishing and trying to get in. That means she can do light elbow 10 times, and if you block 9 of them and you jab every time and push her out of the range, that's a free fish. And then she hits you 1 time with the light elbow and then snowball to death. So as a player, if you block Laura's elbow, tell the story in your head. I blocked it, I went for a button. I blocked it, I went for a throw. They teched it. Okay, so now the storyline is they blocked my button and then they teched. Most likely they're delay teching to stop both of those options. So next time I block the light elbow, I'm walking backwards, right? So I'm going to walk backwards. They're going to whiff their throw on their delay tech, and then I can whiff punish them. You have to make sure you're telling yourself that story. You're keeping track of the story. If you're blocking Laura's light elbow and you are not remembering every part of the story and what part of the story you're at, you are not taking advantage of the situation. That's the way that it goes. She has an EX that has armor, not armor on first frame, so she doesn't have a wake up option. Here we go. And Laura has no invincible reversals. Now, in those -2 situations, she might be able to get the armor out in time. But if she's willing to do light elbow into... No, it'll actually lose to 3-frame buttons. It'll actually lose to a 3-frame button. So you doing light elbow into another thing, it's just here to ruin people's brackets. Yeah, that's what Filipino man likes to do. So the light buttons will still beat the armor because she'll get the EX elbow on the first frame that she's free, which is the same frame the light hits, and it's not armored on the first hit. Luigi and Mario, both very, very strong players. But also keep in mind that the EX bolt charge is -17 on block. So if Laura's are fishing with the armor and you block it, make sure she suffers. -17 means you get a lot of setup time to throw out your optimal combo. Walk up to be as close as possible and blow her up, which is why you won't see Laura's throwing out that armor elbow as that often. But again, the key thing to learn here is that if you are letting Laura's get away with light elbows and not taking advantage of that situation and turning it into your mix-up with the storyline, if you are like, it's my turn, so I'll jab and take my turn. It's my turn, so I'll jab and take my turn because it's the safest thing to do. Then your opponent will always light elbow, block, and then light elbow, and then block, and then light elbow, and they hit you walking forward and snowball and you die. So if you are not punishing her for putting herself -2 in front of your face, you will lose to Laura. You will lose, because that will be a very common tactic for Laura players, is to try to light elbow and fish for something, especially at the lower levels because it is safe on block. And again, +2 is such an important situation in Street Fighter 5. If you can find yourself in a +2 situation, make sure you take advantage of that. All right, here we go, some Rose. This is exciting for me. Haven't seen some high-level Rose. John Milkson, do you have FAT on your phone, or do you have access to like the Capcom web page where they have all the frame data, or a wiki or something like that? Because I'm going to tell you this right now. Go through all of the moves in the on-block column and take a look at that. And you will notice that everything is +1, +2, -1, and -2. There are very, very few zeros on block. There are very few +3 and -3s on block. Almost everything is -2 or +2 or -4, so everyone can punish it. But there is so many moves that are -1, -2, +1, +2. Like, I have Laura open here right now. I'm going to read you the on block. On block, +1, +3, -2, +3, -2, -4, +2, +2, -2, 0, -1. Like, -2, -2, -2, -2. Yes, everything in this game is designed intentionally to create that Street Fighter V RPS. Yes. 70% of the moves I think in this game are going to be around that kind of frame advantage. So the game definitely tries to do that on purpose. It is by nature of the game. And so if you don't understand the full extent of the Street Fighter RPS and why +2 and -2 are so important, there you go. That's why, because this game is pushing you into that mini game essentially. Yes, jackpots. This game is very turn-based. It's more turn-based than Tekken is. Tekken is a turn-based fighting game, but they have high crushes, low crushes. They have parries for lows, side steps, all sorts of things like that. The game is designed to be turn-based, but because also the fastest move is 10 frames, there's a lot more gap of what you can do in terms of, if you're -6, I have enough frames to sidestep. If I'm minus this, I have enough frames to... There's a lot of ways to disrespect the frame data. Street Fighter V, that is not the case. That is not the case, and this is why I say Street Fighter V is a very numbers game, and it's hard to be a heart game. You have to, you should go get your frame data over here and look up all the frame data for characters that you're fighting, characters that you're using, because you want to find those situations, what the frame data is. Again, all these situations are unique. If there's a move that puts you right next to someone and you're +2, you have the same mix-up as the other moves that are +2 and put you right next to the opponent. So it's not about memorizing every move and what, it's about memorizing what the numbers tell you. If you see a situation where the opponent is +2, you know the situation is they have full control over the Street Fighter RPS against you. It doesn't matter that it's a crouching medium kick. It doesn't matter that it's a standing medium punch. It doesn't matter if I got hit by Laura's light elbow. +2 means they have the Street Fighter RPS. That's it. That's all it means. And so once you start realizing what the numbers tell you and you start looking through the frame data, that's what you memorize. You memorize the situation you're in afterwards. All right, here we go. Oh, thank you, Mr. Mad Gear, for the subscription. Appreciate it very much. Hope people have been finding this stream useful and helpful. I didn't really get to analyze the last match so much because I was explaining that, but like I said, that is the nature of what I'm trying to do here on the beginner stream. You know, come up with topics to talk about based off of what I'm seeing, but if somebody has questions, I will take the time to answer them in as detailed ability as possible. So one of the things you see Filipino Man here doing is going with the V-Trigger 1. And one of the reasons that's nice about that, 2-bar V-Trigger has the ability to use it often. And you saw him use it very early on already. He's going to get another one for sure, but might not even need it at this point. So the nice thing about Rose, again, I don't know a lot about Rose. She's brand new, so everything I say about Rose is conjecture. But I imagine she can fight Guile fairly decently because she can kind of play the project. I didn't even see that he was doing that. And I hate that David calls it the Street Fighter Cross Tekken Jin Fireball, because Kairi definitely had it first in Street Fighter EX, so, you know, it's not a Jin Fireball thing. Other characters have had that. KFC Chet. Street Fighter RPS. The Street Fighter RPS is the rock, paper, scissors. the Street Fighter RPS, the rock, paper, scissors is when you are +2 against the opponent or you have an advantage, like say they block your cross up. It's basically I hit a button, I throw them, or I shimmy. That's your rock, paper, scissors. Attack, throw, or shimmy. And the opponent does not have a way to be able to counter all those options with one option of their own outside of having EX meter for an EXDP. The reason why this works is because on wake up, your best option is to block. If you block, you get thrown. So if you decide to tech the throw and the opponent shimmies, you'll whiff the throw and they'll beat you up. But if they shimmy, oh Jesus. If they shimmy, that means you can hit a button when you wake up, because that you can wake up with a crouching medium kick to hit them walking backwards, or you can just hit a button like crouching light punch to become plus on block and steal the turn. So they walk backwards, you do low wake up low jab, they block that, now you're plus, so you turn their shimmy into your advantage situation. So if you wake up with a button, then the opponent then decides to attack. And so they throw a meaty in you, you wake up with a button, you get hit, you get counter hit, they get a counter hit combo. So to avoid getting hit by their meaty, you block, so then they throw you. And so to avoid the throw, you tech, so they shimmy. So to avoid the shimmy, you hit a button, so they attack, etc., 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 etc. That is the Street Fighter RPS, basically, in as much detail as I can give. That is how you want to look at Street Fighter V. Now, in Season 1, that was the majority of Street Fighter V. The neutral in this game has gotten fascinating enough that it doesn't happen often, and a lot of people will complain about Street Fighter V for being so Street Fighter V RPS heavy. The thing about it is, the way that this game is designed now, it's very Guilty Gear-esque, in which you play this really elegant neutral to be rewarded for to get the Street Fighter RPS. The Street Fighter RPS is favoring the offensive person every time. It's always favoring the offensive person. If you get into that situation, you did something right somewhere else. And that's where Street Fighter V comes down to now. It's play the neutral, get rewarded for something. Sneaking in Laura's light elbow. Jumping over a fireball, getting the knockdown that gives you Oki, etc., etc. Finding a way to get into putting the opponent on the defensive end of a Street Fighter RPS is your reward. That's how you want to view the pace of Street Fighter V. UGD, that's just the scheduling. I'll be back on commentary next week. So they're just basically shifting commentators around a lot. So I'll be on next week, and David, I don't think he's not my co-commentator there. So they're just shifting through a bunch of different commentators, so that's cool. David is cheating on me. How do you know I'm not cheating on him? No, it's okay. I mean, honestly, I did commentary like 3 weeks ago with Jeremy as well, so. I mean, it sounds like me, right? It sounds like me. Yeah, right? It's not me versus me next to Sajam. And there you go. Thanks to Caramel Jenkins as well. If you scroll up on the chat, you can see the links to FAT, the Frame Data app, in the chat. So if you're on a mobile platform, you can use those and get those for your mobile devices. Very, 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 very useful tool for Street Fighter V, and absolutely recommend it. If you're playing Street Fighter V he's not wrong. He's not wrong. But that's the thing is, if you are not playing Street Fighter V, if you are playing Street Fighter V without access to frame data, you're hurting yourself. Now, also keep in mind, the game has frame data built inside it as well. Make sure whenever you are in training mode to turn on those numbers at the top of the screen. You don't have to turn on the blue and the red thing, but always make sure you turn on the numbers at the top of the screen. It's Rashid. Need I say more? I like how they're just focusing on each other's characters. Yeah, Jeremy's been on all of them, basically. I think he's kind of being the mainstay here at this point in time. But that's the idea. Make sure when you're in training mode, have the numbers on and make sure you pay attention to them. And take the time to lab. Again, Brian F. said it. When he first tried to learn Street Fighter V, he tried to learn it by heart like he did Street Fighter 4, and he found out he couldn't. He couldn't succeed that way. So then he decided to approach Street Fighter V from the mathematical standpoint, studying the frame data. Oh, I see. If I'm +2 here and I throw out a 5-frame move, they can't hit me with their 3-frame light punch because we'll hit on the same frame, but my medium punch has the priority system, so it'll override their light. Oh, okay. Street Fighter V is a very mathematical game. It is. Now, once you get to the highest levels and everybody just inherently knows the math, it becomes a very, very heart-based game. But you can't get to that heart-based game until you get past the initial math barrier, basically. Filipino Man took it 2-0, yeah. Nice V reversal to get out of there. Wow, Corey's just going flicker punch crazy. And again, oh, dang, he just did it. There's the Edder's random. And not a proper punish. That was huge right there. That was really unfortunate for Corey. And there's the shimmy. So you see, at the end of the round, where did that come from? Jumping heavy kick. Guess what? JB is plus on block in that situation. What does that do? It sets up the Street Fighter RPS. That time JB went for the shimmy option, and the shimmy option worked. Because take the throw is a great option unless the throw is going to kill you. Then you have no idea what you want to do, and so Corey was expecting JB to throw him. So he got shimmied, and that's how it goes. Oh, that was kind of sick. Ooh, he probably shouldn't have done the follow-up there. Actually, I'm not sure. I'd have to test that interaction. Oh, God, I think that's going to kill. Psycho Flicker -2 on block. So whenever Corey does the Psycho Flicker, just like the light elbow from Laura, he's putting himself into the mix-up game against Rashid, against JB. Whenever JB blocks the flicker punch, it is now JB's RPS mix-up. While it's fast, 6-frame startup, and on hit it's +3, so he gets rewarded a lot for landing it. Every time it gets blocked, JB needs to be taking advantage of that, and JB kind of has been. So RPS is rock, paper, scissors. I basically explained in great detail what that is earlier. Basically attack, throw, and shimmy, and how the cycle works. Attack beats their wake-up buttons. Blocking beats the attack. Throws beat the blocking. Buttons beat the throws. Okay, you know what? Every time I try to explain it quickly, I get it all mixed up in my head. But basically, there's a cycle of options, and I'll get to it in just a little bit. I can say it a little bit clearer if I take my time, basically. Buttons beats shimmy. Shimmy beats wake-up throws. Okay, anyways. Oh, see, there again. JB has now done 2 jump-ins into shimmy. So he's already kind of telling the story now. This is important now. So now what JB might want to do if he ever gets a jump in is to actually go for the throw, because he's gotten Corey with the shimmy twice. So now Corey might be scared to try to tech throw. It's because JB has done that twice. So all the +2 situations, even though they give you the same mix-up, they're different stories to be told. Right? So there was a plus situation for JB, and he went for the throw. Here we go, the pressure. Okay, nice punish by JB, aware that that was going to be an option. But Ed's going to Ed, man. Ed is going to Ed. See, -2. And interesting that JB just took that opportunity to dash away. So that's something interesting to know. He took advantage of his plus frames by just getting out of there and resetting the situation. Okay, +3 in that situation. Yeah, they both went for the same thing, essentially. The heavy kicks crush counter. Oh, he tried to catch him from the front, but not a proper punish. That's plus frames, and so Corey decides to use the plus frames for a throw.
Wow, the trade's great for JB for a match point.
That was a smart trade. Woo! Thank you, Richard Kuklinski. I'll be back next year. I'll be back next week. I'll be there next week with Jeremy. Okay, he actually tried to shimmy, but Corey took a step forward and actually got it. See, that was minus. That was minus, and JB decided to use that RPS to do a standing medium punch. And then there's the mix-up right there. Like I said, he blocked it. There's no... Oof. And Corey has a lot of meter right now, so this is actually so does JB. Next hit could kill for either of them. And see, now there's the next part of the story. I did jump attack. You see right there. Do you see how JB did that? Jump attack. Remember I said the next time he lands a jump attack that's blocked, he should go for the throw because he shimmied Corey twice. And there it was. There was the third time that Corey blocked the jump attack, and immediately what did he do? He went for the throw. So again, while the RPS may seem random and it seems like the game is about guessing, it's really about conditioning. It's really about that kind of thing, right? So JB, jump attack, shimmy, got him to whiff the throw. Jump attack, shimmy, got him to whiff the throw. Third time, jump attack, actually throw. And that's what you have to do. That's what you have to do as a fighting game player. It's not actually random. Conditioning, conditioning, conditioning. And it is not even necessarily conditioning either, right? It's really... You're not trying to get the opponent to do something over. You just want to... The conditioning happens after you get the first few reads. Like you try something, see what they do. Try it again, see what they do. And then from there, you start conditioning them in a way, right? So it's your conditioning isn't even really necessarily conditioning so much as it is you're taking advantage of what they do, and you're taking advantage of the fact that people are smart. This is actually interesting. I never actually say it this way, but I always say fighting games are a two-player game. Fighting games are a two-player game. And actually, one of the best ways to explain that is you want to take advantage of the fact that your opponent is smart. That is literally what you are doing in fighting games. You're trying to take advantage of smart opponents. So, of course, you get shimmied twice, so now the opponent's not going to want to get shimmied again. You're taking advantage of the fact that they're smart. And this is what's hard about fighting games, is that when you're playing in bronze, silver, and gold, you have to take advantage of the fact that your opponents are not smart, right? Not necessarily. Sorry, not trying to insult anybody in those ranks, but they will tend to do the same things over and over and over again. So what happens is you will do the same. You can punish something over and over and over again because they don't realize that they're doing a pattern, right? Once you start getting into the higher levels, now you have to shift your mindset into understanding that you're taking advantage of people who are able to make the adjustments. And again, this is what makes fighting games hard. The stuff that you're winning with in bronze and silver and early gold won't make you win once you get into the higher levels. Now you have to start shifting what you're doing. You have to unlearn what you've learned. And that's what makes fighting games hard. It's like the stuff that you're rewarded with won't reward you the whole time. And in fact, later on, it will most likely get you killed. So the hardest thing about fighting games is things that provide you success will not provide you success later on depending on who you're fighting. Again, the ultimate way to succeed in fighting games is not to do stuff because you think it's the right thing to do or you saw other people do it. The ultimate way to succeed in fighting games is to remember that you're playing a two-player game. What is your opponent doing? Do they show the lack of adjustment? Then keep doing the same thing. Am I playing somebody that obviously looks really smart? Cool. Now I can start adding in the mix-ups in there. It's not about, if you learn that fundamental part, that your decisions are based off of what your opponent is doing, if you base your decisions on what your opponent is doing, there's less learning and unlearning to do in fighting games, right? If you are always just doing stuff and it's working, your mix-up works 100% of the time, but it's based off of a move that's not safe on block. Your opponent, once they get better, are going to block that and then kill you for it, and suddenly your cool mix-up that got you through bronze and silver doesn't work anymore. And now you do not have the fundamentals to be able to get you past that, right? That's the thing. So now you have to unlearn that mix-up in order to play at a higher level, but still remember that mix-up, because if you ever fall back into silver, that's going to help you win. Fighting games are hard because what you do, the right answer of what you're supposed to do always depends on who you're fighting. Always depends on who you're fighting. If you try to play the game remembering it's a two-player game and basing your decisions on what your opponent is doing, then you will have to do a lot less of that. Yeah, in low ranks is taking advantage of ignorance. High ranking is taking advantage of knowledge. The mid-levels are difficult because you have to figure out mid-match which you are dealing with. Yep, that's true. Yep, that's absolutely true. It's crazy you said this, Jay Chensor, because I tried all the shit I used to do to my brothers way back in the 90s in SF on Fightcade, and that shit doesn't work anymore. Yep. Yep. So the full RPS circle is, by default on defense, you want to block. Throws beat block. How do you beat throws? You tech. How do you beat techs? You shimmy. How do you beat shimmies? You press buttons. How do you beat buttons? You attack. You press your buttons, media attack. And then how do you beat the media attack? By blocking. So how do you beat the blocking? By throwing, so et cetera, et cetera. But of course, the hardest part about rock, paper, scissors in Street Fighter V is that it's not rock, paper, scissors on both sides. So on the defensive options, your options are block, tech, and hit a button. On the offensive side, it's throw, hit a, I just flipped everybody off. Throw, hit a button, and shimmy. So those are the three options right there on both of the sides over there. I try to treat my matches on a case-by-case basis. Fighting games are impossible to autopilot unless you're a top player. And even then, top players, you'll see when I say this on commentary all the time, and it's the reason why I say this. But on commentary, I always say, like, you'll see someone like Punk have trouble in the first match. In the first round, it looks like, wow, Punk actually looks vulnerable. And then he slaughters the opponent. Because that first round is doing exactly what I said. Jump, attack, shimmy. Jump, attack, shimmy. They didn't do anything both of those times. Information. I didn't get rewarded for it, but Punk doesn't care. He's building the information. He's gathering information. You know what? I'm going to try standing strong and try to throw. My opponent, after blocking the standing strong, did low jab into something in the super, and I died that round. Punk's like, whatever. That's information. I just gained information that this guy is mashing between my buttons. So next time I'm going to do standing strong, frame trap into another standing strong, counter hit, I get my combo, and then test to see if he keeps mashing buttons. Do standing strong again. If they don't mash buttons and they start blocking, now he knows he's got them scared. And if he adjusts the first time, that's also a storyline. This guy adjusts the first time. So every time I get him to make a mistake, he changes his mind right away. So in the other situation, in a completely different storyline after the jump attack, he's going to shimmy and punish the throw with, but he's like, hey, this opponent changed last time when he made the mistake, so I'm not going to try it twice in a row. I'm going to go immediately into throw next time because this guy changes every time he gets punished right away. So again, that first round, you're just building information. Who cares if you get hit? Who cares if you lose? And that's why those top players will lose the first match, the first round, the first game, and then all of a sudden just completely slaughter the opponent because they're just gathering information. The opponent is not. The opponent's like, yeah, I did my thing, yeah. And meanwhile, Punk is like, okay, so after jump attacks, here's the story. After blocking standing strong, here's the story. When I knock him down, this is the story. When I get a cross-up, this is the story. He has all the storylines in his head so that every time he puts you in those situations, he's already one step ahead of you based off of all the information you gave him up to that point. Think about that a second. That's how you play a high-level fighting games. Alex Vibe probably didn't play in this. I don't think he did. Yeah. So the highest level game is figuring out how to feed the opponent false info. Yeah, basically both of you are telling the same story. It's just that you want your ending and they want their ending. So it's just one of those situations where you're like, but and then I swept him to the floor and I pulled my gun out of him. And then the other guy's like, but then the guy on the floor surprised him with a stick out of nowhere and knocked him down and he immediately kung fu jumped into the air. And then the other guy's like, yes, but then after he did that, what he didn't realize was that I had already turned the floor into quicksand and so he started sinking. Ah, yes, but what he didn't know was that my character had anti-quicksand boots on. Like, that's literally what you're doing in fighting games. That's what you're trying to do, and you're just trying to lie to the opponent, right? And then you go like, but you didn't know that I had the boots of stealing power, so I actually stole your quicksand boots. Aha, but you didn't know that I wasn't actually wearing quicksand boots. I was actually wearing the boots of power sap, and so you stole those, and now your power is gone. Like it's just basically D&D arguing. That's just basically what it comes down to. That's what fighting games are. And that's the whole thing of fighting games. And that's what makes fighting... That's why when you get to that point where you understand it and you fight someone else that you know is reading what you're doing and you're reading what they're doing and you go back and forth, that's why it feels so amazing and everybody is so happy when you play one of those matches. It just feels so good. Because it's just so rewarding to play against somebody who's making the adjustments and you guys are trying so hard to outwit each other. And win or lose, those matches are the best. And that's what you're aiming for, right? Once you get to that point, because as soon as you feel that one of the first times, fighting games will suddenly go bing, click, and everything makes sense in fighting games. And you will have some of the greatest euphoria that you've ever experienced. It is really, really cool. It is really, really cool. Wait, do we have 4 Dulcims here? Does Commander Jesse not use Dulcim anymore? Yeah, he used to be a Zangief player, but he's mostly playing Seth right now. Zangief, like, Japan rates Zangief very high, but that's because Itazan. So I've said that Street Fighter V has a lot of similarities to Virtua Fighter. Because Virtua Fighter, the core gameplay of Virtua Fighter really is put the opponent into a lot of mix-ups and RBS situations. And it's about reading the opponent and knowing how to blow that up while taking turns and back and forth and stuff like that. Guess what? Itazan was one of the greatest Virtua Fighter players of all time. Fudo was one of the greatest Virtua Fighter players of all time. Why are they so good at Street Fighter V? I wonder. And so Itazan does amazingly well with Zangief. Japan rates him really high. He's not really that high. I really don't think he's that high. He's got too many bad matchups. Oh boy. Ow. Yeah, he can kill him now. And see again. Oh! And again, keep in mind, he can chip him out. Yeah, so that was a chip situation right there. But actually, he gained the V... Oh, he might not have gained the V reversal if he had blocked the crouching medium punch. Because that was just going to be canceled in the super right there. And there was nothing that he could have done about that chip damage. But again, you see that situation. What Stupendous did was he looked at his resources and realized he's in chip range. Right? The more you get to know your character, the more you know what you can do with the meter. And so Stupendous, knowing he needed to win that round, wasn't like, shoot, got to find a hit. He was like, I have this resources. What might be my best option? Actually, if I make him block, I can go into my +2 teleport on the other side. Dhalsim has no 3-frame buttons, so he has to block my crouching strong, which I can cancel into a super, which will chip him to death. Okay, and so that's exactly what he did. And so that's the whole thing. That's why Ikita got hit by the crouching strong, because if he didn't, he would have died anyway. And so again, but that's not a heart thing, right? That's a math thing. You figure that out because you know what the frame data is. And again, that's why I say that this game, you should study the frame data. Did you know that when Seth does teleport to the other side, boof, and freezes there and looks totally punishable, that Seth is +2? If you didn't know he's +2, you're going to get hit all the damn time. Can't play it by heart. That move looks like by heart super delayed, but it's not. He's plus. And so you have to know that. And if you don't know that, you are going to die. Itazan plays both. He plays both. He actually beat Daigo with Zangief, remember? A lot of StarCraft, which I spent years on before starting on FGC. Yeah, it's just that the interactions in StarCraft aren't necessarily like boom, 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 like they are in fighting games. My favorite thing about Itazan is that before they ever cut back to a camera showing, I always know he's going to be sitting there giggling because he got away with murder. Yep, 100%. I always say that man is always smiling, and that's like one of my favorite things about him. But yeah, that's important thing to remember about this game is learning the frame data is very important. And while you may not like it, that's the nature of Street Fighter V. That is the nature of Street Fighter V. Can you learn the game purely by heart? 100% you can. Absolutely you can. Is it harder? Yeah. Is it harder than most fighting games? Yes. Absolutely harder than most fighting games. A lot of other fighting games you can learn through heart a lot more than Street Fighter V. Street Fighter V, I would probably say, is the least heart fighting game out there right now. And again, you know, when I talk about heart, mind, and body in terms of the style of fighting games out there, by saying it's a mind game, the most mind game and not very heart game, is not me disparaging the game. It's not me trying to insult the game. I'm just saying what it is. This is how the game works. And it's valid in its own way. It's like I said, I really enjoy this game. And the more I started embracing what Street Fighter V is actually about, the better I have gotten at the game. Yeah, exactly. And it makes the game hard. It makes the game hard to play, and it's interesting because everybody's always like, oh my god, Street Fighter V is for babies. Dude, this game is so not for babies. This game is like hard. This game is terrifying. I like the idea from, oh, okay, that's going to catch. That's going to catch, yeah. And but here's the thing, right? That's only if you are a heart player. Now, the thing about it is if you're old school like I am, old fighting games were almost all heart. So they self-selected into heart players. So a lot of us old schoolers are going to have a hard time playing this game. If you are new school and you just happen to be a mind kind of player, Street Fighter V is super easy to learn because all the numbers are there to tell you about the situations and everything makes sense and it's great. So when I say it's hard to learn because it's a mind game, that's bias. That is bias on my part. And I shouldn't say that because that is absolutely a false sentence. It doesn't necessarily make Street Fighter V the hardest to learn. It makes Street Fighter V harder to learn for heart players than other fighting games. But if you're a mind player, absolutely this game, it just makes sense. Like you just look at it and you're like, yeah, okay, no, yeah, okay, yeah. And then the whole game flows for you and it's great. Yes, MK11 definitely felt more mind than heart in the past. However, MK11 also has a lot of functionality to defeat a lot of the frame data as well, such as the perfect blocks and stuff like that. It's more like Tekken. Like I said, I feel like it's Street Fighter V, Tekken, MK11 in terms of like mind and heart kind of things. What do you mean by heart is hard mode, dumpster garbage? What I should say is that, I mean, heart is not hard mode. Heart is, it's hard mode for Street Fighter V. But if you play Samurai Showdown, you play Soul Calibur, heart is beautiful for those games, for example. But for this game, it's a little bit tougher. In lower levels, when an opponent knocks me down in the corner, they often neutral jump and stuff my tech. Why don't I see this in higher levels? Because a lot of the times you'll actually see someone neutral jump, and then when they wake up throw, they do it so fast that the throw is too early that the guy who whiffed the throw actually can still anti-air in time. Also, it loses to wake up uppercuts, whereas if you shimmy, you'll block wake up uppercuts and avoid the throw, so it's generally a better idea. Shimmies just in generally are stronger. Shimmies are harder to implement because they're not natural. Neutral jumping feels like you're doing something and avoiding something, so at lower levels, that's what it feels like you want to do. But at higher levels, you just shimmy. They whiff the throw, you get a punish that way. If they wake up uppercut, you block. Shimmy is nice because it defeats those two options. Even though I've talked about the Street Fighter RPS, I haven't talked about the EX uppercut, which adds another layer into it, which basically defeats two of the options, which are button and throw, loses to shimmy, but you've turned it into a pure 50-50 of do something or block on the offensive person side. So you've basically taken the mix-up, the RPS, and said, you know what, I don't want to play that RPS. I'm just going for the true 50-50 here. And I'm just going to uppercut and blow up what they do. Because I'm just going to do it. And that's the wrench. That's the monkey wrench that you throw in there, which is why they don't want to give anybody invincible uppercuts in Street Fighter V. Because having that monkey wrench all the time compared to everyone else, even though you can block the uppercut and destroy the person who does that, still forces the offensive person to have to think about it constantly and gives the defensive character a bigger advantage. So they just wanted to make it so that that 50-50 only happens when somebody has meter. Because now there's a thing to think of. Resources. Do I want to use the resource? Do I not? It adds a bunch of extra layers to that. And that's why they do it that way. Yeah, Vi is a massive heart player. Justin is a heart player. That's why it works better when he gets to play characters like Manat. He didn't have success in Street Fighter V, not because he was getting old or whatever. It's because Street Fighter V is not made for Justin Wong. Justin Wong is a pure heart player. Daigo is a heart player. Daigo transformed himself into a mind player with heart playing Street Fighter V because Daigo is just that. He's the best, right? He's the only player that I've really seen successfully literally be like, you know what? No longer heart player. No longer heart player. Mind player now. Hey! And he's had that success. But when Justin was playing Street Fighter V, he didn't have the success because the heart didn't work. And then he found Manat, which, if she's played right, doesn't deal with the Street Fighter RPS at all. And then Justin started winning. So like I said, it wasn't that Justin was getting old or he was getting rusty or everybody was getting better than him. It's just that the game wasn't designed for Justin Wong. And then what happens? Samurai Showdown comes out and he makes top 8 at EVO? Like after one day of teaching from Corey Bell? Like, that's because Samurai Showdown is the heart game. It is all heart and like very little of the mind game. Frame data doesn't matter. All these steps is like everything is a risk. And so heart players are going to succeed in that game. So immediately, Justin Wong, Alex Valle, Henry Sen, all the old school players, which the old fighting games self-selected for heart players, all succeeded at Samurai Showdown and EVO and got top 8. Boom, there you go. Oh, that's interesting, Jackpots. That's cool. Poker back in the day used to be all heart, and it shifted the other way because of math and the online generation. That's really interesting. KFC Chet, Shimmy is walking backwards. Shimmy is walking backwards. walk away from them, get out of their throw range so that they whiff the throw. But like I said, the danger of that is that you're walking away, leaving your legs vulnerable. And so when you see people do wake up crouching medium kick and you're like, who would do wake up crouching medium kick? The first time I saw that was at an NCR, and NuckleDo woke up with guile crouching medium kick into overhead and hit somebody. And I was like, on commentary, I remember I was like, who would do that? Why would you wake up with crouching medium kick? What a madman. I wake up with crouching medium kick all the goddamn time now because that's just me countering shimmy. As soon as I thought about why NuckleDo would do wake up crouching medium kick is because if you're walking backwards to shimmy, you're leaving your legs vulnerable. And so he'll wake up with the crouching medium kick and hit you. And as soon as I realized that, I was like, oh, well, shit, now I'm going to do wake up crouching medium kick all the time too. And I did it yesterday in the Shoryuken scrimmage when I fought the winner of the tournament. I noticed he shimmied in a situation. I woke up with crouching medium kick. And guess what? I got the hit and I won the round off of that. So that's basically how that works. I like playing Street Fighter V. I'd rather learn by playing than labbing. Yes. And that makes Street Fighter V hard dumpster garbage. 100%. And that might mean Street Fighter V is not the game for you to play. That might absolutely mean that maybe you should try playing Grand Blue Fantasy Versus or something else. Find another fighting game. You don't have to force yourself to play Street Fighter V. I know I'm in trouble saying this on a Capcom official Restream, but it's true. You don't have to play Street Fighter V if it's not for you, right? But the reason why it's important to understand the kind of game it is, that it is a mind game and that you do have to do labbing, is for me as a heart player, understanding that and approaching Street Fighter V from that viewpoint has made me enjoy the game a lot more and has made me understand what I'm supposed to be trying to do in this game and has made me find the heart in the game. I've been able to play the heart. So like I said, I woke up with crouching medium kick. That was a heart read. Waking up with crouching medium kick is a terrible idea, but if you read that your opponent is going to shimmy, that's a heart read. But I would not have gotten to that heart point had I not understood the math and the mind factor of Street Fighter V. At the highest level, all fighting games are heart. At the highest level, when I say a game is more mind-based or when I say it's more heart-based, I'm talking about the gatekeeping. I'm talking about the start of the game. Oh, that sucked. Come on, Jesse, punch that, please. I'm talking about the start of the game. When a game is a heart game or a mind game, that's the gatekeep. Once you get to the highest level, all games are heart games, including Street Fighter V. Because if you're fighting against everybody who knows all the frame data, every decision you make is going to be just like all the heart stuff. But if you are not taking the time to lab why the situation is the way it is, because you're plus or minus or blah, 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 whatever that kind of situation, you're not going to get to that point where it can be heart. I can understand the hate behind no invincible DP, but so much more fun with bar. I mean, I hate it because I love invincible DPs, but I totally 100% understand why Street Fighter V does not have it. If we put in invincible DPs into Street Fighter V right now, the game would completely fall apart. Like, it would just fall apart. And so I understand why it's not there. I hope they bring it back in 6 and design the game around that idea. But Street Fighter V is not designed for invincible DPs. Yeah. So okay, that's great. Jackpots. Justin said on stream, SF5 is the first game he had to learn frame data. Boom. Validation of everything that I've been saying, right? Like I said, I'm really good at understanding how people think and empathic and all that stuff like that. I asked Justin why he didn't play Cammy in Street Fighter 4 and kept playing Rufus. And he's like, I don't want to memorize 40 different setups after back throw. Because like Flash Metroid is a mind player, right? Flash Metroid, aka just Flash now. Like, he showed me his notebook that listed every character after being back thrown by Cammy, what the ambiguous cross-up setup is for that character. With this button, micro walk, jump this button. This character is this character is that. Flash is a mind player. Justin is a heart player, and he didn't want to memorize 40 different characters on back throw. So, like I said, the fact that he said this is the first time he's had to look at frame data says everything of what I'm trying to say. He's a heart player, and the only way he can, find the success in 5 is to play a character where he can avoid as much of those frame data situations as possible. I think Evo Moment 37 never happened. Fighting games might not have really taken off like it did after that moment. Yeah. It was the first moment in my mind that I was like, oh shit, fighting games can really become a spectator sport. Because the way that the audience went absolutely insane was new to me. I had been watching fighting game tournaments. I've been doing Evo and all that stuff, and I've seen the excitement. But Evo Moment 37, when that happened, and I was there live, and I heard the floor rumbling. We were on the second story of a building, and I felt the floor shaking. I knew this could become a thing. Most EXDPs in Street Fighter V are throw invincible, yes. GBVS is pretty fun, yeah. It can be good to force yourself to play games that aren't for you. I'm good at mind and body, but suck at heart. James knows I'm trying to learn that skill in Sam Show. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Learning to play the other style games, and I really do feel like learning Tekken helped me a lot to get better at Street Fighter V, weirdly enough. I do those lobbies. Yes, Nutacon is correct. Why is SF5 not designed for invincible DPs? Because the game thrives off of the RPS. And by giving some characters invincible DPs, they inherently have an advantage of always having to put that 50-50 override into their mind. Now, obviously you can get killed really badly if you get your DP blocked and stuff like that. So in the end, it's pretty even. But in general, Street Fighter V is designed not to be played that way. Street Fighter V as a game would be less interesting as a player if you always had to worry about that invincible DP all the time. Would you prefer SF6 with SF4 input delay? SF4 and SF5 have the same input delay right now. Yeah, so Richard Kuklinski, you don't need to own the game to come play with me on my Farcade sessions, basically. Oh yeah, if that Evo 37 moment panned over ever just so slightly more, I was standing right there next to Mr. Wizard. I was sitting right next to Seth as he was filming that. In fact, I have the mini DV tape of that original Daigo Parry footage from the Evo Moment 37 video in my closet right now. I have the mini DV tape. I have the original mini DV tape that Seth filmed in my closet because I appointed myself as the Evo archivist early on. So yeah, Richard, I had that, and yeah, it was really, really crazy, dude. It was crazy. Mini DV, yep. That's how long ago it was. And trust me, it was at the very end of the tape. Had that not had that gone on any longer, Seth might have missed a part of it. Like, it seriously ran out of tape like right afterwards, if I'm not mistaken. Or it was like the camera was running out of batteries or something like that. It was very fortuitous that we got that on camera as that we did. Past games showed us had more wake-up options than anyone else. So in this game, they said almost everyone gets that, but they have to spend meter. On top of that, it would suck with all the gaps and block strings in this game to deal with people uppercutting through strings all the time. Yeah, pretty much. The game is designed with frame traps and gaps and stuff like that. Having to constantly be worrying about DPs in every situation. Laura elbow, Laura DP. Laura elbow, Laura DP. Like, just having to do that throughout this game everywhere would degenerate Street Fighter V into a DP or not mash fest. And it would be really, really ugly to watch. With Street Fighter IV having to wait for animations. I don't know what you mean by that, Guts R. I don't know what that means. Talk about Invincible, then I thought about Jimmy Penguin versus Intazon. I don't remember that one. Tourney's going good, Zilcho. Having to do plinking for combos and stuff. Oh, the input buffer. The input buffer, basically. It depends on the game, really, because one frame links in Street Fighter 4 was kind of shitty. It really kind of gatekept the game from a lot of people. I wouldn't mind it if they fleshed it out a little bit. If it were my choice, I would change Street Fighter 5 even to having input buffer only if the opponent is in hit stun. If the opponent is not in hit stun, you do not get input buffer. So that way that removes the one frame links, but requires you to have perfect timing to punish things, and requires you to have perfect timing for frame kill setups, and requires you to have perfect timing for frame traps. I would actually honestly prefer that because I like having human error in games. Human error in games is much more fascinating to me for a fighting game than having everybody have input buffers. But if you only get the input buffer if the opponent is in hit stun, that means your one frame links are going to work very easily. And there are so many one frame links in Street Fighter V that if you took away the input buffer, no one would be landing combos anywhere and it would be really crap. So that's how I would probably do it. Right, that's not the kind of execution barrier that's interesting. Exactly. One frame link, it's like the one frame FRCs in Guilty Gear. Like there's just a few FRCs that are one frame, and that's not interesting, right? If all FRCs had the same window, that's more interesting to me. Yeah, what are you standing up for? What are you standing up for? That's Woshige. Woshige is the battle designer for Street Fighter V. He's one of the main battle designers. So you can wonder why the game is fairly Guilty Gear-esque of trying to win an interesting neutral to get your reward out of the knockdown. That's basically Guilty Gear. Right? Every character does the same thing. They play this really interesting and fascinating neutral to get the knockdown and get rewarded with an interesting mix-up. It's just that in Guilty Gear, every character has a different interesting mix-up, whereas Street Fighter V, a lot of characters have very similar mix-ups, which is the Street Fighter RPS. Yeah, Guile crouching light punch into crouching medium punch, Vega crouching light punch into crouching light punch, all being one frame links, was kind of bad. Was definitely bad. Earthquake? No. I'm shaking my table, I think, is what I'm doing. My leg is bouncing right now. Unless you actually felt something, Zilcho. I didn't feel anything. Maybe because I was shaking my leg. So I was earthquaking myself. Ah! Right. Ooh, good whiff punish. Wow. And that's kind of one of those option select whiff punishes, right? Option select basically meaning you do one input and it does the right thing for you no matter what you press. So if the Balrog dash punch hits you and you time it so that you press your medium punch, immediately after the dash punch makes you block, you aren't going to stand medium punch and you're fine. But if it whiffs, you'll stand medium punch and you'll whiff punish him. So it's one sequence of buttons that will work in both situations. Uh-oh, here we go. Activation. Mix up. See? That standing reset puts Balrog into the Street Fighter RPS advantage. So that's why you end with the V-Skill 1 into the punch, because now you have the plus frames, you have the advantage, and Mata Oha decided to backdash, which was the shimmy, which is basically the shimmy option right there. And so, yeah, taking advantage of that mix-up by doing that. So V-Skill 1 into, I believe, yeah, V-Skill 1 into punch is where is it? What is that on hit?
What a jump timing, however.
Nice, that's definitely punishable. I think that's the one that's +1. Oh gosh, I can't remember. Anyways, I wish I could find out what the names of these. I don't remember the names of all these moves. Yeah, the Ultra was weird. I think in the end, Ultra was a good game, but it's just that the quality of the added characters felt a little jank, which was what the problem is. Do I think the next SF will be back on Xbox and have crossplay? I mean, if Sony's not involved, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, and PC is always the option, right? You can always play it on PC. And CPUs are becoming very strong to the point you don't really need to have a graphics card. Huh, interesting. Yeah, I know. As a commentator, I should remember these things, but I never do. It's so bad. Ah, there we go. No, that's not the right one. Shoot. What's OTP? V-Skill 2. V-Skill 1 punch. That's not the one. Ah, here it is. KKB into Buffalo Swing. That's the one, I think. On hit +2. Yep. See, there you go. What a shock that Balrog's little spinny into punch follow-up is +2 on hit. What a shock. Like I said earlier, everything is +2, -2, etc., etc. So Balrog doing that puts him +2, and guess what? He's got the Street Fighter RPS. Mata Oha backdashed afterwards, caused the Filipino man to whiff the throw, and then he got the punish afterwards. So there you go. Just... It's like you don't even have to look up the frame data half the time, because you can almost be sure that it's like in those questionable situations, it's +2 or -2. The only difference that +1 and -1 makes is for the fact that there are some characters with no 3-frame buttons. So for example, if you block Fang's standing heavy kick where he does the knee, he's +1. Against other 4-frame characters, Fang has the Street Fighter RPS. He has the Street Fighter RPS. Except he will lose to 3-frame but no, actually no. Against other will he lose on the throw? Because if they do 4 buttons, no, it'll still hit on the same frame, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it'll still hit on the same frame. So yeah, Fang against other 4-frame characters still has the Street Fighter RPS when he's +1. But if you're fighting a 3-frame character, such as Ryu, Lucia, Chun-Li, Karin, etc., etc., after you block Fang's standing heavy kick, even though Fang is +1, you can hit your 3-frame button, and the worst that will happen is you trade. So if you're fighting against Fang and you have a 3-frame button and you block Fang's standing heavy kick, mash your 3-frame button. Absolutely mash your 3-frame button. Fang doesn't have any invincible moves to punish you for doing that. And so the worst that he's going to get is, the best he's going to get is a trade with you. And so you're absolutely got to treat it like it's your turn. You absolutely have to do that. Playing with onboard graphics will not be a good experience simply because the games are designed to use some of the NVIDIA or AMD card driver features, yeah. Dude, I'm so glad they used that song at the end. That was stage 2 in Ghouls and Ghosts, and it's like one of my favorite songs in that game. And it's so funny too, because the Genesis had a specific music chip that their instruments just resonate. I don't know if it's nostalgia, but like all the games that were on the Genesis, the way that their music sounds just has this distinct tinniness to it that I really love. Ah, it's a good idea. I should run an ad. Thank you, Caramel Jenkins. Okay, let's do this. Ooh, and if you don't want to deal with my ads, then you can subscribe. A lot of the graphics card prices and availability is bad because of all the Bitcoins and NFTs, right? Sorry, Doomshiz, I don't have the bracket link here because this is not the official stream, but it's probably a good idea for me to set that up anyway. I should do that next time. Okay, the ads should be done. Just as an FYI, guys, if you do appreciate this kind of beginner stream and want to show support and let me know that you want to see me keep doing these things, subscriptions, donations, all those kind of things would be very much appreciated. Basically, you can see my goal for end of July was to get to 250 subs. I was at like 200 subs at one point, but a lot of those were gift subs, and I know it's hard times for a lot of people that they don't have the money to subscribe and stuff like that. So I dropped from like 200 subs back down to 113. Makes me sad, but you know, subscriptions can help me, support me, etc., etc. Keep doing things like this and help me keep trying to live like this. So a beginner Fightcade third strike tournament. That wasn't something that I had thought about, but maybe. I don't know how to gauge that. Like in Street Fighter V, it's easier because we have the gold and all that stuff to show your ranking. Unless Fightcade, did they build in the in-game ranking system? Thank you, Caramel Jenkins, with the subscription. Appreciate it. Thank you, John Milkson, for the subscription. Appreciate it very much. There you go. Thank you, guys. Really, really appreciate that. Sigma Nuts, Cat Butts to Caramel Jenkins. Sigma Nuts, Cat Butts to John Milkson. Appreciate it very much. So I think we've just got a few more matches on the losers bracket side here till we get to top 8. I'll see what happens. But again, you guys are able to ask whatever questions you want about fighting games in here. I will do my best to answer all the fighting game questions in here. You can ask me anything. Someone even asked me, for example, what a crush counter was early, and I'm more than happy to explain all of that stuff. More than happy to explain even the simplest of concepts of fighting games to more complicated stuff and try to explain them in ways that are easy to understand. And I will also try my best to continually, even if there's not questions in the chat, you know, watch the match and give a bunch of stuff, information. Thank you, JP Vari, for the subscription. Appreciate it. Sigma Nuts Cat Butts to JP Vari. Thank you. And here we go, Samurai and JB. Ooh, this is a rough one here. What are we talking about here? About the thing? Oh. Actually, God, stop doing that. No, I would still do it on Fightcade because those servers cost a lot of money. Caramel Jenkins. So I would probably do it on Fightcade. And thank you, Nutacon, for the bits. Appreciate it. Ooh, he's going to uppercut. And see, EX uppercut when JB was plus. So that's the best time to throw out the EX uppercut, when you know your opponent has plus frames. Because that allows you to, because when they're plus frames, it's their turn. They want to hit buttons. Nice. Perfect timing on those frame kills, thanks to the input buffer. Good whiff punish again by Samurai. I think that standing medium kick actually stands in. There's the shimmy. And sometimes you can set up the Street Fighter RPS. If the opponent is scared and you walk up to the opponent, that counts as setting up the RPS. Absolutely. If you walk up to the opponent and their reactions are late, it's essentially your plus frames, even though you aren't actually plus frames. Plus frames can come from setting things up, like forcing them to block a jump or hitting them with Laura's light elbow. Plus frames can also come from you just walking up to them when they're not ready for it. And that sets up the Street Fighter RPS as well. It's a harder way to do it, but it absolutely works. So again, that's where a lot of this game kind of runs down to. Like I said, Street Fighter V is about playing this really kind of interesting. You saw that stand light punch after blocking the spinning mixer. That is because Rashid is -2. And so Samurai is going to take his turn. So he's established after light spinning mixer, he's willing to stand light punch. And so that's something that JB is going to have to consider, and Samurai, because JB just blocks. So maybe next time he blocks a light spinning mixer, he'll go for a throw instead. If he has another chance, because JB here with the V-trigger active, starting to get the offense. Oh boy, breaking out of there with the EX uppercut. And now the side switch, this is a problem. Plus frames there, goes for the throw. That was the throw option in that plus frame situation. Oh, nice, punish the parry. Okay, wake up, crouching medium kick. What did I say earlier? And there, instead of going for the throw, he went for the buttons because last time he did the throw. So again, the stories are evolving, but he did wake up, crouching medium kick because that's how you beat the shimmy. And then he's gonna just uppercut Samurai? Holy crap. Woo! But there you go. All of those things, if you are watching carefully, you see the stories, right? Last time, he did, Samurai did uppercut in the ground pound, whiff, low, strong, whiff, low, jab, throw. He did it again, whiff, low, strong, whiff, low, jab, then low, strong again, because he was hoping that JB would expect a throw and try to hit a button or something like that. And instead, JB ended up blocking. So had he thrown again, it probably would have succeeded. And then you saw Samurai wake up with crouching medium kick against JB because he read the shimmy. He read the shimmy. He probably saw that he was shimming against Corey a lot. So he woke up with crouching medium kick to blow up the shimmy. And that's what won him the round. So there you go. It's just, it's about how to play that. So shimmy gives you big rewards, but it also can lead to the biggest punish, which is why shimmies can be scary. And there we go. See? Crouching medium kick once, and that time he shimmied, got the shimmy to work, and he's going to take the round. It's always just the story. The Street Fighter RPS. If you are not playing the Street Fighter RPS, you are not playing Street Fighter V. You really have to take advantage of those situations. So there we go. Last time he did light punch. That time he did crouching medium kick. Interesting. This is going to be a combo, yeah. Nicely done by JB. So, okay, went for the shimmy, and Samurai tried to take his turn by throwing out the jab, the button against the shimmy. And there he is again. This time JB does go for the shimmy because, oh God, he did not expect the uppercut, low strong, low jab. See, there you go. Sets up that same thing. This time he delayed throw. He did light punch into throw. So last time he did button. This time, first time he did throw. Second time he did button. This time he did button into throw. These are all part of the story. Oh, he did it again! The crouching medium kick to blow up the shimmy again! See? He knows. Samurai knows, and this is the read that he got. He got shimmied by JB, and he notices that JB gears and leans towards the shimmy. Twice he went for the crouching medium kick, and that wasn't even in a wake-up situation. That was in a block situation, but it's still the same Street Fighter V RPS. So after he blocked, he guessed shimmy, went crouching medium kick, hit pay dirt. Samurai has made it to top 8 now, if I'm not mistaken. And again, that's the whole thing, right? It wasn't a guess. It wasn't a true RPS. He's just noticed that JB really likes shimmies because shimmies generally feel safe. It blocks uppercuts. It can't really get punished by the whiff thrower or wake up buttons very easily unless you go for the hard read on the crouching medium kick. So a perfect example right there of how Samurai used all the information to land crouching medium kick twice when JB had the advantage situation because he read the shimmy. And there you go. See, it all comes together. Every time I talk about all this, it all comes together like that. So it's just super cool. It's just super cool. And again, if you're a Heart player, once you get to that level and you catch someone shimming with a crouching medium kick to kill them, let me tell you how good that feels, man. So again, understanding the Street Fighter RPS and what +2 means gives you the opportunity to play the Heart game. But it's gate kept by the knowledge of what the Street Fighter RPS is and what +2 means and why +2 is so important in this game. That's just the whole thing, right? But once you get past all that, it becomes absolutely a Heart game at that point in time. And right there, Samurai throwing out those crouching medium kicks on his minus situation, at his disadvantage, were Heart reads. And Samurai is a Heart player. That's why he's going to go for stuff like that. So this is just going through top 8. It's going to top 8. And then it's going to stop. So we have 2 more matches, and then this stream will be over, and it'll be back tomorrow, and I will be doing the beginner stream again tomorrow. Right. I say this all the time. Caramel Jenkins, the quote that he put in there. I've always said, if you hit a button and you can't tell me why you hit that button, you shouldn't have pressed that button. All right. That's something that I've been saying for years. You have to basically say to yourself, why did you hit this button? Well, because if your answer is because I thought they were going to dash, and so I wanted to hit the button to interrupt their dash. That's cool, but it should be, why did you hit this button? Well, I've noticed that he dashes a lot in this neutral situation, or when I sit still long enough, he seems to think that I'm scared to hit buttons. So I'm going to hit this button because he usually dashes in this situation. It's the same answer, but one of them is more informed based off of what you've seen for your opponent, as opposed to, I did it because I'm just guessing that he's going to do this, right? I've always said, think of pressing buttons in fighting games as you spending money every time you press a button. And you want to spend as little as possible because you don't want to go broke on top of losing the match. So if you think of it that way, ooh boy, this could be over. Oh, what? Stu didn't, that was actually before he grew his hair, and then he cut it, and then he grew it, and then he cut it. Because if I'm not mistaken, on his Twitter, he said he's using a 6-year-old or 9-year-old picture or something like that. Yeah, but if you hold it long enough, nice, okay. Advantage, +2. Hey, guess what? If Zangief lands an EX SPD or a heavy SPD and he forward dashes, guess what his frame situation is? Oh, it's +2. What a shock! Street Fighter V trying to reward you with a +2 situation? No! Impossible! Impossible! If Zangief catches you with an EX SPD or an heavy SPD and he dashes forward, he's +2. There is no surprise on this situation. All of this is very intentionally designed so that when that happens, Zangief dashes forward, can crouching light kick to beat a backdash or an attempt to jump away, can go for another meaty SPD, which will beat all 3 frame wake-ups, etc., etc. +2 is, see, +2 goes for a throw, beats all wake-up buttons. And won't die if he gets away from the throw attempt either. But, you know, what a shock. It's a +2 situation. And if you don't understand that, now you do understand why Itazan is scary whenever he lands an EX SPD or when he lands a heavy SPD. He is now plus frames. Ugh. He is now +2 after he gets an SPD or an EX SPD and dashes at you, and you quick rise. And you can only quick rise. You can't back roll. So the only quick rise you have gives him a +2 situation. And Itazan, if he can loop that back into another EX SPD or loop that back into yet another heavy SPD, guess what? He's +2 again. Zangief, like Laura, is designed to be a snowball character. Here we go. See, that's light SPD. Dash forward, you're -2. Oh, actually, you're -4. So if Zangief light SPDs you and you quick rise and he dashes forward and you don't check him, that's your fault. You deserve to lose in that situation because light SPD is designed not to give him the +2 frames. And again, this is what I mean. Street Fighter V can be played with heart, but you have to know all these situations. You have to know that Zangief is -4 if he dashes after a light SPD or +2 after a heavy, medium, or EX SPD. But on the medium SPD, if he dashes forward, he's too far away to get you with another SPD except for the light SPD, which will actually put him at the -4 if he dashes so you can get away. You could backdash after the medium SPD because he's not within range to SPD you and stuff, but then he can standing heavy kick so he can kick you out of there because of the frame data, etc., etc. That's the way it all works. That's Street Fighter V right there in a nutshell. Here we go, EX SPD. He went for the meaty SPD, but the V-shift now going to hurt Zangief a little bit because that will avoid the throw and avoid a lot of the meaty buttons. However, if you're Itazan and you have already tested that, then you will go for the meaty knee, which hits after the window that triggers the frames, and then you will chase him down into a super, which is exactly what Itazan did. Oh, that's plus. Oh, guys, is he going to go for the EX to keep the frames? Yep. So, dash +2. What's the mix-up? Low. He was trying to bait something out of him, and then Morty jumps afterwards. So, +2 off of the forward dash. He went for the crouching light kick into light punch to confirm into the lariat. It was blocked, so he went for the SPD. Morty jumped away. Here we go. +2. What's the mix-up? Okay, now Morty goes for the escape option. That can be thrown, but he guessed that Stupendous was going to go for meaty buttons, and he was right. And so we got away from that situation. Absolutely punishable, but that was his read. That was the heart play by Morty. Again, everything at the highest level becomes a heart game. And Morty doing a great job with that heart read in that situation. Yep, there's the poison again. Ah, anti-air didn't work. Plus, so that coward crouch kick is +2 on block. So Fang gets the RPS on every character, not just 4 framers, but there it is. The surprise sleeves from across the screen.
There were so many situations where Stupendous had command that he I don't know, 5 times, like a bunch.
Yeah, all the different SPDs. They're 5 frame startup. But after the SPD, your frame is different. That's why light SPD has the range, but doesn't get the mix-up. You get a light SPD, and then you dash forward, and you're -4 now. That's why, as a Zangief player, in general, you do not dash forward after light SPD, unless you feel like the opponent is just completely frozen and just not expecting it. That's definitely a way to steal turns. But if you land a heavy EX or a medium SPD, you are +2 off of a forward dash. But medium SPD is designed exactly right, that if you forward dash after the medium SPD, you're +2, but you're too far away to do a meaty SPD except for the light one, which now puts you in a situation where you can't loop. So you can steal a turn by dashing and then micro-stepping into EX SPD to reset the loop for yourself. But that's the weakness of the medium SPD. The heavy SPD has no range, so you have to have a really good close-up heavy SPD to be able to... The EX SPD is important because it has the range almost of the light SPD and the frame data of the heavy SPD. It's combining all the good SPDs into one. That's why you'll see a lot of times a Zangief will dash up and do heavy SPD, dash up heavy SPD, dash up low short, EX SPD. Because if you did low short, light SPD, he's out of the vortex. The opponent is now out of the vortex. If you use the EX SPD, you put yourself back into primary vortex distance. So if you go heavy SPD, dash up, heavy SPD, dash up, heavy SPD, dash up, heavy SPD, every dash keeps you in the vortex. But if you do that every time, your opponent's going to neutral jump and kill you. So you throw out the light crouching light kick, which hits them trying to hold up. You hit them in the leg and they're like, oh God, and they low block. But now you're too far away for the heavy SPD to connect. So you use the EX SPD to reach and then reset you back in the position where a dash into heavy SPD will connect again. It's very important to understand how Zangief's SPDs work that way. If you get hit by a medium SPD, you're now at too far range that he can only light SPD. So like I said, backdash will escape almost everything except for standing heavy kick, which will get crush countered, which lets him jump up and confirm into an EX SPD, which resets the loop again. So Zangief, because EX air SPD into dash forward, is +2 again. So again, Zangief has this whole little mind game after he lands a heavy or EX SPD of how he wants to keep you in that loop. And Itazan is one of the best at reading people's patterns as a Virtua Fighter player. So wonder why Japan ranks Zangief as one of the best characters, because every time Itazan gets a heavy SPD or an EX SPD, you die! Because he reads you right every single time. Yes, and this is exactly what I mean, Caramel Jenkins, is that Street Fighter V is gate-kept by the mind aspect of the game. If you don't study this in Street Fighter V, you do not understand what Zangief's mind game actually is. And that's the whole thing about Street Fighter V. If you don't know that Yoga Gale is +2 on block when he Tiger Knees it, then you don't understand what Street Fighter V is doing to you. And that is why this game can be so difficult for old school players. It's why all old school players seem to hate this game. Like, you see all the old players and they don't want to play this game. Nuki doesn't play this game like Daigo said, because Daigo said Nuki's lazy. Nuki doesn't want to study frame data. So he's never going to learn Street Fighter V because he just wants to play by all heart. Does that mean Nuki is a bad fighting game player? No, he's one of the gods of Japan. He's one of the best fighting game players of all time. It's just Street Fighter V is a different fighting game. It's the most different Street Fighter game out of all Street Fighters in a weird way, because it is played with a different mindset. And again, if you understand that and are willing to take the time to study the frame data and really figure out what all the stuff is going on, it turns into the heart game eventually. But you have to put in that work. You have to put in that initial work to memorize the frame data, and it's hard. It's hard.
Commander Jesse committing to the EX on the fire to close the game out was all rampant.
Thank you for the concern, Ignacio Corto. It's fine. It's fine. I enjoy doing this, and I'm willing to do it. And as a commentator who has commentated 12 hours in a row, I've gotten good at knowing how to take care of my throat. Right, frame data ignorance. Yep, exactly. So I'm guessing you were a Zangief player, right, Caramel Jenkins? So that's the thing, is if you do heavy SPD, dash up heavy SPD, the opponent cannot stop that outside of a backdash, outside of a jump, or outside of an EXDP. If they wake up with a 3-frame button, if they mash on their wake up, Fierce SPD dash Fierce SPD will beat them. And that's the frame data. And that is all frame data. And if you realize that, that opens up all the mind games for you. That's how it works. That's the tricky thing about this game. If you play by heart and think to yourself, I'm going to fierce SPD dash up and try to, like, the game is designed intentionally so that fierce SPD into dash is the perfect frame kill for you to set that up. It is intentionally designed that way. And so if you do not process that, and if you try to play Street Fighter, like I said, you can learn by heart by doing fierce SPD dash up fierce SPD and your opponent going, I was mashing jab, how come I didn't hit you? You'd be like, interesting. They can't jab. Okay, so that's a true... You can take the time to learn all that stuff, and eventually you'll get to that point. But holy crap, that's going to take a while.
Yes, I like that. Coming from Commander Jesse using that V-ship, not reluctant on, or sorry, relying on that V-ship.
No,
And thank you, Ignacio Corto, for reminding me to drink some water while I'm doing all this. All right.
chooses defense. Okay, he's really mixing it up, and Rambo now needs to make his way in.
God, it's so crazy to me because Rambo, like I said, got top 8, winner's side. On Twitter, he said he was his hands were shaking because he was so nervous getting there.
Jesse is doing such a good job.
It would suck to have him come into top 8 and lose 2 straight and go out of the tournament in 9th place. Happens. But, I mean, it's definitely awesome for him, especially representing Falk, a character that a lot of people do not have a lot of faith in. It's really cool to see this.
Well, I mean, the matches you can see, like, Dalsum is hanging
So, now that you guys understand the frame data situation, you can see now why when I talk about this game, there's so much about the stories, right? So when I was watching that stupendous match, after Zangief landed the SPD and he dashed, I was like, okay, so what's the story this time? Another SPD or button into SPD or etc., etc. You can see now why, because so much of Street Fighter V is built along the +2, -2 situation that you can tell these stories and figure that out. And once you start realizing that's how this game plays, that's where stealing turns and all this other stuff comes into play. But you can see why now Street Fighter V is the kind of game that it is. Does that make this game bad? No, not at all. Like I said, I really, really enjoy this game right now. I genuinely think Street Fighter V is in a position where it actually deserves to be in the pantheon of greatest Street Fighter games. In fact, I think this is a better Street Fighter game than Street Fighter IV. Right now at this point. It's very different, but I love the fact that Street Fighter refuses to stay the same. I like the fact that Street Fighter V is willing to change. Street Fighter V is not Street Fighter IV, is not Street Fighter III, is not Street Fighter II, is not Street Fighter Alpha. And I think that's fantastic. Because if you love Third Strike hasn't gone anywhere. Third Strike is still there. Go play Third Strike, you know? This is why I love that Strive is trying to do something different for Guilty Gear. Because Guilty Gear, like Tekken, has been a game trapped behind legacy knowledge. And they are finally getting themselves out of that hole. And I think that's fine. If you want more Exerd, go play Exerd. You don't have to go and play... You don't have to go and play Strive if you don't want to. But... for those, some people might play Strive and go, oh my god, this is the greatest game ever. Super Turbo is the Smash Melee of the FGC, I think. I guess maybe it is Third Strike, but the thing is, Melee actually is a good game, and Third Strike is not. No, I'm just kidding. Anyways, I do like Third Strike now. It's just an inside joke that I hate it. Here we go. Final game, potentially. Good start for Jesse. Here we go. Oh, that left-right mix-up. Oh, yes, Naughty Senpai. That is 100% true. That is 100% true, Naughty Senpai. Yes, absolutely accurate. Now, what's interesting is that Falk's optimal range is just just inside Dalsum's optimal range. And what Commander Jesse is pushing, he keeps pushing Rambro outside of that range. And because of that, Falk hasn't been able to get standing medium kick into the gunshot at all. He hasn't been able to do that pressure. Remember in that first game we watched, I had mentioned how valuable it was for him to be in that range. So again, all about ranges. What Commander Jesse did to win that match was, here's Falk's best range. This is Falk's best range. Commander Jesse kept staying at this range right here. This range, which is Dalsum's best range. Because remember I said Dalsum doesn't zone from full screen. He zones from ranges 4. Ranges 4 is his best range, basically, just outside of max distance. So this is his best range, and Falk is not a full screen zoner. She's a mid-range zoner. So distance 5 and distance 4 don't benefit Falk. Distance 3 benefits Falk. That's where Falk wants to be, is at distance 3. But since Dalsum is better at distance 4, Commander Jesse made sure to freeze the match at range 4, at distance 4 between the two players. So Rambro was not able to get anything going because at that range, Dalsum has longer moves. Falk's towards heavy punch would whiff. He couldn't walk up, micro walk into medium kick into gunshot for being +3. So that matchup was not won by like whatever trickery and all that stuff you saw. If you go back and analyze that match was actually won because Commander Jesse stayed at range 4 almost the entire fight and kept it right there. And Rambro did not have the not saying he didn't have the capability in that particular fight. He just never succeeded in breaking that distance. He never could get from range 4 to range 3, so Commander Jesse won that match. Again, fighting games, all about distances. And it's something that's so important for you to remember as a fighting game player. Distances, distances, distances. These ranges are important. Ranges, they talk about this in Soul Calibur a lot. The reason why I've started using this range term is because this is something that they talk about in Soul Calibur all the time. Range 0, range 1, range 2, range 3. I'm taking that lexicon and bringing it into Street Fighter V so it helps me teach it a little bit easier. I'll have to put out a chart at some point at what the ranges look like according to my definition. But basically, like I said, range 0 right next. Range 1 here, range 2, 3, 4, and then 5 is full screen. 5 is full screen. So there's 6 ranges ranging from 0 to 5. Dalsum wins at range 4. Falk wins at range 3. If Rambo was able to stay in range 3, better than Dalsum could, then Commander Jesse could stay at range 4, Rambo would have won. Now, the problem is, I don't know if Falk wins at range 3 versus Dalsum either. Dalsum might still win at range 3. So what do you do as a Falk player when your best range is not strong enough against the opponent's best range? This is what causes matchup disparities. This is what causes matchup disparities. If you really want to understand why there is such a thing as matchup disparities, it's because your best range is overridden because that's the opponent's best range. And they're better at that range than you are at your range. That's the matchup disparity. Potemkin versus Slayer is a great example in Guilty Gear XX, Accent Core. Slayer wanted to be in your face and destroy you. That's exactly where Potemkin wants you to be. So while Slayer can fight other characters and be at range 0 and kill everyone, all you're doing is doing the work for Potemkin. So Potemkin used to just destroy Slayer in XX Accent Core because Slayer, all he did was put himself in range to die. Thus, matchup disparity. So how do you solve that, right? Well, you try to find your next best distance and hope that that distance sucks for them. So in other words, if Falk can get to distance 2 or distance 1, that's probably better for Falk than it is for Dalsum. So now you're going to fight to try to get into that range all the time. It's not your optimal range, but it just so happens that for Falk, your distance 2, while not your best range, is better than Dhalsim's distance 2. So to try to counter that bad matchup, that's the range you try to put yourself in the most. You try to put yourself, so even though it's not your best range, because at your best range, Dhalsim might be better at your best range than you are, you try to find another range that's uncomfortable. Now, because it's not your best range, it's harder to get there and maintain that range. So it's hard. And again, that's what creates the matchup disparity, right? That's what creates matchup disparity. If you look at all the distances between you and your opponents, and one character just happens to be better at like every one of those ranges, yeah, you're gonna die. That's a bad matchup. That's how you determine what's a bad matchup. When you feel like something is a bad matchup, it's because subconsciously in your heart, you're not processing this in your mind, but in your heart, every range you get to feels like shit. And that's why you're like, I hate this matchup, because every range you feel like you lose. That's why mirror matches are uncomfortable, because it's the exact opposite. You can't find a range where you have an advantage, because in a mirror match, whatever range you're at is the same range that the other person has. And so if you suck at that range, they suck at that range. If you're great at that range, you're great at that range. If you're okay at that range, they're okay at that range. Why do you think mirror matches feel so uncomfortable? Because every range you go into, whatever you can do, they can too as well. And it just feels gross. But when you play a match where you know at this range you can dominate the other character, you feel like you have a purpose. You know where you're trying to get to. And when you get to that range, you feel powerful. And that's what helps guide you in fighting games. But in mirror matches, every range is equal, so it just feels shitty. It just feels shitty. At that point, it really comes down to character knowledge and taking advantage of the frames and having better reads, etc., etc. What's left for them to be back? Probably just closing statements and stuff like that. Let me run an ad for 1 minute. Just as a reminder, if you guys are enjoying this, please give subs. And not only that, what also would be very, very useful for me, even if you do not have any funds to support me financially right now, one of the most important things you can do, and be honest about this. Don't do this if you don't actually believe it. But if this stream helped you a lot, and if this stream was something that you are like, this was awesome, I'm going to come back and do this more often as a beginner player because I learned a lot. Or, hey, this is really good information. Wow, James was really friendly in answering my questions. Tweet at me about this so I can retweet it onto my timeline so other people can see that this is something that they might want to jump into as well. Just by giving me the testimonials, that is also very useful as well. So there you go. Let me run a 30-second ad here. Yeah, make it Ryu versus Ryu, Proud Soul. Ryu versus Ryu is always a fun match, but that's because the fireball changes so much. The fireball and the character is just so well designed that the mini game is really good. But I'll repeat that answer again after the ad is done, just in case you did not hear that answer. Let me know if you did hear that answer, Proud Soul. Yeah, one of the ways that you can make mirror matches fun is just make it Ryu versus Ryu. I'm repeating this again for Proud Soul. Ryu versus Ryu is always an awesome matchup. The fireball and the speed of the fireball really makes a difference and makes that mirror match really, really fun. But the way you make mirror matches fun, and which Street Fighter has done pretty decently, is hopefully the characters have good enough V skills and V triggers that both players will use different V skills and V triggers, and that creates the different matchups and the different distances and advantages and things like that. Like if you had a Dhalsim with V trigger 1 and V trigger V-Trigger 1 and V-Skill 1 versus a Dhalsim with V-Trigger 2 and V-Skill 2, you would have a very, very different matchup, and that actually would make it super fun. But let me see what these guys are saying.
Control by Dank in that match, especially versus somebody like Samurai, who has great movement, who has very difficult to predict choice making, and Dank just like wasn't even in that mix-up range almost at all. So for me, that was one of the most standout performances of the night. I really liked Dank's play.
It's funny because I also think that in the losers run for Samurai, I think that was one of my favorite highlights was between Samurai and JB, seeing how unpredictable Samurai can be to take out a world caliber player like JB, in the sense that, you know, he still managed to find normals to thread the needle past JB's offense. And we've seen the kind of offense Rashid possesses, especially in the hands of JB, as well as keeping it ambiguous with the EX uppercut options. There's so many things you could take away from both sets, right, in terms of control, right, and then as well as any defensive maneuvers that you can take as a player, and really mixing up those options very well. I think overall those are our two favorites, but there's been so many moments. It's been tough to call.
With which character, Nadi Senpai, Momochi going V-Trigger 1, which character are you talking about? It's so hard to know because Momochi uses like 19 characters. Oh, with Ryu. Okay. No, because V-Trigger 1, once you activate it, the fireball becomes a huge threat. And I think that's, yeah, that's kind of what you said, right? And V-Trigger 1 always gets you some kind of threat. Exactly right. I agree.
That what really stands out to me is definitely the ranges that she started off from, and the kind of patience that she had in looking to get those things going without feeling like she needed to rush it too hard.
One of the players I do want to highlight as well was Filipino Man, especially in the matchup.
Badro Rambo, they are commentating live. Yes, I can confirm that because I did so myself for CPT Asia 1 at the Burbank Studios.
It could have very well been unfamiliarity with the character, possibly. But for the most part, Filipino Man was still at that point where...
The matches are being played online, but we're commentating in a studio live. Yes, so the matches are happening live online, but we're commentating at a desk live in the studios.
Such a talented player, and I'm happy for him that he's found something in the game that he really enjoys. That's an extremely important part of this, and it looks like he's there. As far as Stupendous, you know, his path through versus Ikita, that match was very interesting. The decision to jump or not, it was one of just a couple of 2-1 matches that we had, so it was actually on the closer end. That anti-air or not game was a huge part of that. Good choice to go with Seth. That's a character that I'm really glad that he's stuck with, because it's important to have counter picks when you play a character like Geef. And then, you know,
dude, it's so different, Shadow. Commentating in person with someone else is so nice because Discord has that little delay and also does that audio thing that if one person's talking and the other person tries to say something, you have to say like 3 seconds of stuff before the other person actually hears it, so they don't know you're trying to get a word in and stuff. It's so awkward. And when you commentate on Discord, you have to be aware that your opponent, that your co-commentator wants to say stuff, so you have to intentionally stop talking every once in a while to give them the opening to speak. It's really tricky.
Yeah, that's been like the biggest
over. That would be hilarious. Yeah, that was really impressive. Good job to Stupendous. Over. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. Over.
Presented, but didn't get to make the most out of it. I think that's the greatest thing you can do, right? Even if you're...
I mean, that's the thing. So, like, one of the things is when I was commentating with Ringe for CPT last year, both of us are really good at stopping and letting the other person talk, and so it felt really, really good. Like, I didn't feel like I had to interrupt at any point in time because I could trust that Ringe was going to stop at some point so I could make my point, and he could kind of trust that I was going to stop so he could make his point. It was actually really smooth. I really enjoyed commentating with Ringe last year.
SPD than before, because V-shift escape into punish is something everybody can do. So Geef will go more often for regular grab, you know, versus characters who don't have far backdashes. He can then get SPD and stuff. He can still like continue it if they do V-shift escape his regular grab. So that's more of a go-to. So we saw that after SPD, but as far as just the good old-fashioned EX SPD, I don't think that I did. Yeah.
See, and David's even talking about that mind game, yeah.
Matches. Again, if you missed it, we highly encourage you guys to check it out. Top 8, right? Again, Nephew versus Chris CCH. Dankadius versus Mira. Then down below, Filipino Man versus Samurai. And then Mortzi versus Commander Jesse. David, which one of these matches are you looking forward to the most?
I'm just going to stick with Dankadius versus
Man.
Mira. Are you going to do the same?
No, I'm going to say Filipino Man and Samurai. Because that is a loser's run.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, dude. Amazing that those players ended up in loser's side. It just shows you the strength of the region.
Yeah.
For me, again, I was so impressed by
good shit to
Dank's
Chris CCH.
neutral control, and that's going to be extremely important in his match versus Mira's Laura. Going to be extremely important. And for Mira's side, her, again, the patience that she often showed and then turned it into such extremely strong offense, that's going to be really important in that matchup as well. So they both, in their top 16 performance, showed things that are going to be basically what the match is all about in top 8.
The reasoning behind my pick is very, very shallow. I just want to see Rose versus Akuma.
Okay.
And that's the truth. I want to see how Filipino Man has really navigated with this character against a huge threat in the roster, Akuma, in the hands of somebody like Samurai. So very excited to see it. Again, it's pretty much the only reasoning I have as to why I think it's one of my favorites. And, that's okay. We actually want to hear what you guys have to say at home as well. Which one of your matches, or which one of these matches are you looking forward to the most? Be sure to add us at Vicious FGC as well as at Ultra David, even at Capcom Fighters. Let them know which matches you are looking forward to. David, it's been an absolute pleasure. We are not even close to done yet. We still have the top 8 happening at the same time tomorrow. Any closing thoughts regarding these players in the top 16?
You know who's not going to win it? Cammy. It's not going to be a Cammy victory, everybody.
I
It's not going to be 3 out of 3. 2 out of 3 ain't bad, but it's not going to be a 3 out of 3 for Cammy.
Yeah.
It's going to be a new character, and of all characters, Dalsum has 1/4 of the top.
Yeah, that is very true. Very excellent observation as expected.
No, 2
David. I
Dalsums,
appreciate
proud
you,
soul.
man.
Dude, it's always fun.
Always fun. And for those of you at home, we hope you guys had as much fun as we did. For now, it has been an absolute pleasure. You guys do not want to miss the other events going down. I know you guys have seen little snippets of it, but here's the breakdown. Asia East #1 happening May 15th, that weekend. And as well, the registration period is happening for the South America West. And then, shortly after that, is Brazil.
So I will be
#1.
commentating the Asia East one.
Between those dates, 10 to 17.
I will not be commentating South America West. I will try to do a beginner stream of that, but that weekend is also Red Bull as well. So I might be doing a beginner stream of Red Bull. I might do both. We'll see what happens. Why not? Let's go ham on this. But hopefully you guys haven't been enjoying the stream. And like I said, if you do like this and would like to see me keep doing this and you find that this is helpful for the community and everything like that, if you're new and you're like, wow, this is an awesome stream, like I said, please tweet at me. Let me know if you cannot contribute financially. Obviously, it's rough times out there. I know it's hard financially at this point in time. If you can sub, donate, gift sub, Amazon Prime sub, whatever, I would appreciate that very, very much. However, if you cannot do any of those things, by tweeting at me, tagging me and saying, wow, the beginner stream was really useful. And like I said, please do that genuinely. If you felt like the stream was crap, don't tweet that you liked it. But if you did enjoy it, please tweet at me, tag me on there so I can retweet those and basically as testimonials for other people to want to come and watch as well. I'd like to try to make this a regular thing because I really want to help people get into fighting games. I really want people to learn and love fighting games. And so by trying to do this beginner stream, I feel like that this is a good way to bring them in there. So hopefully it works and hopefully people learn a lot from these streams. So, but that's it for now. Also, you can support me if you go to 86.com, as you can see at the bottom, tinyurl.com/86jchensor. You can also see the link over here. I am now allowed to plug my own stuff on the stream. Click on that link over there. That'll take you to 86. If you buy any of their cool new stuff, they've got Soul Calibur shirts. They just started a new Tekken line of shirts. So if you want to grab any of those things, you can. And support me that way. Anything you buy, if you head to the site on my affiliate link and you buy anything, you will get, I will get a small piece of the proceeds. Anything helps. That's about it. Thanks guys for tuning in. Like I said, I'll be doing this again tomorrow. Same start time, about 4:30 tomorrow. I'll be doing the beginner for the top 8 as well. Hope you guys like the format and everything like that. Let me know if there's any suggestions you have for me in Twitter as well. But otherwise, thank you guys for tuning in. Stay safe out there. Wear your masks. Get your shots. Stay social distancing even after you've been vaccinated. Remember, Black Lives Matter, Trans Lives Matter, and stop the Asian hate. Let's all be excellent to each other, and let's party on, dudes. Peace.
Be excellent to each other. And party on, dudes!